Chapter 1136. In the depths of the stone tomb on Chihuang Island, a chilly wind blew. The roars of the ominous creatures shook the sky, constantly warning the people who entered. In the stone tomb, Ning Chun and the white tiger walked between the bones one after another. Their eyes were solemn. After walking for half an hour, a stone door appeared, blocking their path. Behind the stone door, the roars became fiercer and more urgent. Ning Chun stopped and looked at the stone door in front of him. He pondered for a moment and said, "Are you ready?" Roar. The white tiger replied in a low voice. Ning Chun waved his hand, and the green cauldron appeared. Without hesitation, he smashed it directly. After a while, a loud rumbling sound spread throughout the stone tomb. The stone door shattered, and huge rocks flew everywhere, creating a huge pit. The stone door collapsed, and a terrifying yin qi surged out. It almost condensed into a substance, and it made people's hair stand on end. In an instant, a black shadow flashed by, and a fist that was like metal and stone blasted out. It was powerful enough to destroy a mountain. In a flash, Ning Chun took a step and instantly moved 100 steps away. Behind him, the white tiger roared and waved its sharp claws to meet the attack. The evil ghost and the holy divine beast collided with each other, and a violent tremor sounded. The white tiger was sent flying and smashed into the stone wall behind. Roar. The humanoid monster with green fur roared in a low voice, and yin qi spread out from its body. Outside the battle, Ning Chun looked at the one-sided battle in front of him helplessly. The white tiger that he took in didn't have any good points other than being able to take a beating. In front of the stone wall, the white tiger got up, flapped its wings, and rushed out again. The ghost and the white tiger clashed again, and after a few breaths, the white tiger was sent flying again. The white tiger couldn't fight against the ghost of the king realm. After more than 10 moves, the white tiger was sent flying several times. The ghost's body was like metal and stone, and with the power of the king realm, the white tiger seemed to be having a hard time fighting. Outside the battle, Ning Chun didn't rush to help. He knew the white tiger's ability to take a beating. Even the immortal cauldron from the eastern celestial world couldn't kill it. The white tiger's life wouldn't be in danger for the time being. Roar. In the battle, after being sent flying for the umpteenth time, the white tiger roared at its master outside the battle. Its eyes were filled with grievance. Hold on a little longer. Ning Chun remained unmoved and said calmly. He looked at the green-furred monster in the battlefield and thought for a moment. Can you tell how this thing obtained life? Ning Chun asked. I can't tell. The demonic body replied. When this strange object was fighting, there was a faint glow of incantations in its body. It was blocked by its physical body, so I couldn't see it clearly. However, I can be sure that the incantations in its body are very profound. I'm afraid they were left behind by an Emperor Dao expert. Ning Chun frowned slightly and said, the incantation can't give life to people. This monster doesn't belong to the category of puppets. It's really no different from being alive. If we want to verify if it's the effect of the incantation, we can only test it out. This Chihuang clan has too many incomprehensible abilities. If we can find their inheritance, it will be of great help to us. The demon body reminded. I understand. Ning Chun nodded his head in response. He had already gained quite a lot after coming to Chihuang Island. However, it seemed like it was just a drop in the ocean. This race was truly mysterious. Roar. Just as Ning Chun's two bodies were conversing, the white tiger's disadvantage in the battle became more and more obvious. After being sent flying again, the white tiger no longer went forward. It stood up and roared at the monster in front of it. Then it looked at its master outside the battle, seeking help. All right, retreat to the side. Ning Chun replied. He clenched his right hand, and the inverted water moon appeared. In the next moment, the sword moved. In the dusky stone tomb, the sword light cut through the darkness. The moon demon divine tool's peerless brilliance appeared again. The green-haired corpse roared angrily. It threw out a heavy punch to resist the divine sword. With a rumble, the divine sword and the iron fist collided. The inverted water moon shone brightly, and the green-haired corpse's body involuntarily floated up. In an instant, Ning Chun took a step forward and arrived above the green-haired corpse. A green cauldron appeared in his left hand, and he smashed it down. Seeing this, the white tiger's eyelids twitched, and a chill ran down its spine. Previously, it had suffered a great loss because of this turtle shell. After living for so long, it was the first time it had seen such a sturdy thing. It couldn't be broken no matter how it smashed it. In the battle, the green-haired corpse was smashed down from the middle. A violent tremor resounded through the stone tomb. The green-haired corpse roared in pain. It clapped its hands and straightened its body, wanting to take revenge. However, at this moment, a white-clothed figure appeared in the sky. The green cauldron swung down, and with a bang, the green-haired corpse was smashed into the ground again. Even though the green-haired corpse's strength wasn't inferior to that of an immortal king, in front of a huge gap in combat experience, it still didn't have much power to fight back. It was being beaten up. On the ground, the green-haired corpse tried to get up several times, but it was smashed back down by the green cauldron every time. Violent tremors constantly sounded, scaring the white tiger to retreat again and again. After being smashed for an unknown period of time, the green-haired corpse on the ground finally couldn't stand up anymore. All the bones in its body were shattered, and deep blood dyed its entire body. It was extremely miserable. Not far away, the white tiger watched with fear. It didn't want to take a step forward. Fortunately, it chose to submit yesterday. Otherwise, it would end up in the same miserable state as the green-haired corpse. The incantation is in his dantian, the demon body reminded. Yes. Ningchen nodded. He pointed with his right hand. Sword chi gathered and penetrated the green-haired corpse's dantian. Blood spurted out, dyeing his black robe. Ningchen's right palm cut open the green-haired corpse's dantian, and his eyes narrowed. He saw an extremely complicated incantation looming in the green-haired corpse's dantian that was cut open by the sword chi. It was engraved in the corpse's flesh and blood, and it was constantly absorbing the spiritual chi between heaven and earth. After looking at it for a moment, Ningchen's sword chi flowed on his right hand, and he directly cut off the flesh and blood engraved with the incantation. The bloody scene made one's hair stand on end. The moment the incantation left the corpse's body, the eyes of the green-haired corpse immediately dimmed, and its consciousness disappeared. What unimaginable power! Ningchen exclaimed as he looked at the incantation in his hand. Creating life had always been the domain of the gods. Even emperors couldn't create life out of thin air. It was really incomprehensible that this incantation could revive a corpse. Not far away, the white tiger saw that the battle had ended, and it walked over carefully. On the ground, the green-haired corpse whose incantation had been taken away had lost all its breath, and its yin chi was gradually dissipating. The white tiger glanced cautiously at the green-haired corpse that was smashed beyond recognition. Then it looked curiously at the flesh and blood in its master's hand. It didn't understand why its master took out this piece of flesh. Was it going to eat it? Although it was a spiritual divine beast, it wasn't human. The white tiger's thoughts were still instinctive. Ningchen naturally didn't know what the white tiger was thinking. If it denied, he would definitely kill it with a slap. Let's go in. After a long time, Ningchen put away the incantation in his hand and walked toward the stone room in front of him. This green-haired corpse wouldn't guard here for no reason. There might be something unexpected inside. Behind him, the white tiger followed, its sharp claws grinding. It had fought 3 times in a day, and it lost every time. This made the white tiger feel a little embarrassed. Traces of battle could be seen everywhere in the stone room. It could be seen that he wasn't the first person to come here. Although the green-haired corpse was strong, it still couldn't stop a king realm expert. After all, the green-haired corpse's battle intelligence was somewhat lacking. In the stone room, several stone coffins had been opened. There was nothing but bones. Obviously, the experts of the 100 races who came before had taken everything away. Not even a needle was left. Go and look around. See if there's anything else in here. Remember not to touch it. Ningchen glanced at the white tiger behind him and said, "Wu." The white tiger nodded and ran to look for treasures. Ningchen looked around the huge stone room. It wasn't strange that someone had been here before. However, after this place was cleaned out, the green-haired corpse had been guarding here and didn't leave. There should be something important that hadn't been taken away. Not far away, The white tiger looked around and sniffed around as if it was looking for something. As a divine beast, it naturally had intuition and sensitivity far beyond that of humans. Ningchen also searched carefully in the stone room. However, looking for things wasn't his forte. After an hour, he was like a headless fly. He didn't find anything. Immortal Elder, let me help too. The space formation on Ningchen's shoulder flickered, and the little gourd appeared. Okay. Ningchen nodded. The little gourd was a spiritual object of heaven and earth. It was more sensitive to treasures than him. After getting a response, the little gourd flew forward on the gourd. Seeing this, the white tiger's eyes lit up. It almost drooled. Umph! The little gourd snorted proudly. It wasn't afraid. It knew that with its master's protection, the big tiger wouldn't dare to do anything to it. 100 steps away, the white tiger quickly regained its senses and suppressed the bad thoughts in its heart. This immortal herb seemed to have a good relationship with its master. It couldn't offend it. In the stone room, a man, a tiger, and an immortal vine worked together to look for treasures. Time passed by, but they still didn't find anything. Ningchen stopped and rubbed his temples. It was really clean. He didn't know how many times this place had been robbed. You guys continue to look. I'll take a break. Knowing that he wasn't cut out for treasures, Ningchen casually found a place to sit down. He took out the incantation that he cut from the green-haired corpse's dantian and studied it carefully. The incantation was complicated and hard to decipher. The spiritual energy of heaven and earth constantly gathered to maintain the incantation's spirituality. Ningchen looked at the changes on the incantation seriously. After studying for a long time, he still couldn't find anything. This was the domain of the gods. It was beyond the reach of humans. He didn't expect the Qihuang clan to have such wisdom to bring the dead back to life in other ways. He'd seen similar ominous things in the outer heavens. Could it be that the Qihuang clan came from the outer heavens? Just when Ningchen was thinking, a red light converged outside the stone room. A familiar figure appeared. His powerful aura indicated that he would step into the king realm at any moment. Within the stone room, Ningchen sensed something. He stood up and looked outside the stone room with a serious expression. I was wondering who it was. So it's you. As he spoke, a red-clothed figure walked in from outside the stone room. He looked at the young man in plain clothes and spoke indifferently. I didn't expect it either. We're really fated. Ningchen spoke with a calm expression. It should be said that enemies are bound to meet on a narrow road. The vermilion bird waved her hand. The red feathers that covered the sky converged and transformed into a divine sword. It was extremely extraordinary. Today, I'll end this detestable fate. Chapter 1137. On Qihuang Island, the Destiny Meeting and the Vermilion Bird sect started their fated conflict once again. It wasn't because of deep hatred, but because there was only one person in the Book of Life and Death. Ningchen unsheathed his astral soul, causing the sky to be dyed red with blood. Ningchen pointed his finger and crossed his sword. After 100 years, they met again. Things remained the same, but people had changed. There was only fate, and the cycle of reincarnation. In an instant, the two swords clashed. The sound of the swords reverberated, and sword chi spread in all directions. Your growth has disappointed me. The vermilion bird said coldly as she stared at the person in front of her. Your strength is also not as good as expected. Ningchen sneered. He didn't let go of any opportunity to attack his psychological defenses. The two people with similar faces were like mirror images. The two swords danced in the wind. The swords were born from the same origin, but today they were separated by life and death. The swords clashed and sparks flew in all directions. The two of them were so close to each other that their swords broke through the air and brushed past each other. Strong, so strong that it was indisputable. After practicing the sword for 100 years, he had finally surpassed the only two people who had ever surpassed him. They met again in the extreme realm. So your cultivation has been crippled. After exchanging 10 moves, the vermilion bird couldn't sense any Zhenyuan fluctuations from the vermilion bird's body. The vermilion bird sneered. Her divine essence surged, and her cultivation that was infinitely close to the immortal king realm erupted, suppressing the vermilion bird. I don't need cultivation to deal with you. Ningchen formed a seal with his left hand. The light of the divine prohibition flowed, and the yellow spring opened, blocking the pressure of the king realm. The tip of the sword streaked across the air. Time slowed down. Seeing this, the vermilion bird's expression turned serious. She added another 30% of her strength to the sword and pierced it towards the former's chest. Ningchen stepped forward and sidestepped. He used the time restriction to suppress the former's sword speed and avoid the fatal sword. Outside the battlefield, the white tiger and the small gourd were looking at the battle ahead with nervous expressions on their faces. Zila, the sound of clothes being torn apart rang out, as his astral soul slashed across the arm of the vermilion bird. Fresh blood splattered out, dyeing the tip of the sword red. At the same time, the sword in the vermilion bird's hand changed direction, and as the sword slashed out, it was dyed red. Sword wounds were exchanged, and a heavy punch was about to land on his body. With a bang, both of them retreated a few steps. Sword art sky-shattering. The two of them wielded their swords, using the same move. As the sword chi passed by, the void cracked. With a loud rumble, the sword chi collided. The shockwaves from the collision caused the entire stone tomb to shake violently. The sword chi broke through the stone walls and penetrated 1,000 zhang into the ground. The two of them were evenly matched, and each of them had something to rely on. As their figures intersected, they threw out heavy punches. Boom! With a deafening tremor, the ground between the two of them caved in. Stone slabs flew into the air, and the stone tomb began to show signs of collapse. The stone tomb was about to be destroyed, but countless runes around the stone tomb awakened on their own, turning into golden chains that crisscrossed and stabilized the shaking stone tomb. Behind him, the white tiger and the small gourd were horrified. They retreated again and again to avoid the shockwaves of the battle. Ningchen glanced at the falling boulders around him, and his expression hardened. He could not delay any longer. This stone tomb would not be able to hold for much longer. Nirvana. Not willing to fight for a long time, Ningchen's astral soul changed its direction. With a light shout, countless streams of sword chi appeared in the air, boundless and incomparably magnificent. Seeing this, the vermilion bird's expression also became serious. With a low roar, the crimson wings around her spread open. Divine fire filled the air and strengthened the divine sword. Nirvana. It was the same move, but the sword pressure was incomparably vigorous. In the dusky heaven and earth, streams of sword light broke through the air and circled above the two of them. In the next moment, countless streams of sword chi swept out, and the majestic sword current slashed towards the opponent in front. Boom! The fated battle was gradually coming to an end. The Nirvana sword destroyed everything in its path. Everywhere in the stone tomb, wherever the sword chi passed, the runes would shatter, unable to withstand the might of the extreme Tao. The scene of the sky collapsing and the earth being destroyed was shocking. The entire Qi Huang Island shook violently, and cracks spread out for thousands of miles. Not far away from the battle, the shockwaves of the battle arrived. The small gourd's expression changed. At the critical moment, the white tiger flapped its wings and blocked the front. With a loud bang, the white tiger flew out and smashed through stone walls one after another before stabilizing its body. In the white tiger's arms, the small gourd covered its eyes and was trembling in fear. Protect the small gourd. Amidst the falling boulders, Ningchen instructed. He looked at the vermilion bird in front of him and shouted. The surrounding sword intent rose to the peak again. Great Sword Realm. Sword Emperor. The astral soul was in the sky, and the extreme realm was activated. In an instant, violent sword intent spread out rapidly in the battle. The blood-red sword light spiraled into the sky. The sword realm opened, and the emperor appeared. In the void, a white-clothed figure soared into the sky. Her white hair danced in the wind as if a divine king had descended. The sword emperor appeared, and his might was boundless. The space around the two of them turned into a world of swords. In the sword realm, the vermilion bird's expression sank. It flapped its wings and avoided the sword currents. However, the limitless extreme realm destroyed the blood-red sword light. There was no beginning and no end, and it was hard to dodge. The vermilion bird held its sword horizontally and blocked the blood-red sword chi head-on. There was an intense vibration, and the sword qi brushed past the vermilion bird, bringing along a splendid fountain of blood. True extreme vermilion flames. The battle was not going well. The vermilion bird shouted, and divine flames rose in the surroundings. The god in the flames reappeared with the ancient majesty. The raging vermilion bird's divine flames spread out in the sword realm. The extremely high temperature distorted time and space, burning the sky and boiling the sea. The divine flames burned the sky. In the sword realm, the blood-red sword light was obstructed and couldn't get close. Ningchen didn't want to continue the cycle of reincarnation. He slashed his left palm across the sword. With the blood-herder sword, the pressure of the sword realm increased by several folds. Every drop of blood that spilled between heaven and earth contained the will of a swordsman. Tens of thousands of swords were arranged and spiraled rapidly. The scene was unparalleled and shocking. In the void, Ningchen waved his sword. In an instant, countless sword lights broke through the void and slashed toward the vermilion bird in the sea of flames. At this moment, the vermilion bird also raised its cultivation technique. The vermilion bird's divine flames condensed and turned into a giant vermilion bird deity. It faced the attack head-on. The emperor in the sword and the god in the fire. The two extremes of the world collided. In the shocking scene, the entire small world collapsed. The unceasing sword currents collided with the vermilion bird deity. After a few seconds, the tens of thousands of swords slashed the deity's body and broke through the sky. A pool of blood splashed in the void. The sword qi penetrated the vermilion bird's body. Blood spurted out of the vermilion bird's mouth, and its body flew hundreds of feet away. At the same time, the tens of thousands of sword qi continued to advance. At the end of Qi Huang Island, the sword qi broke through the void and slashed on a heaven-reaching chain. With a bang, the heaven-reaching chain collapsed. A corner of Qi Huang Island immediately fell. Not good. On Qi Huang Island, Ningchen's expression slightly changed. This floating island was located on the boundless sea. Once it fell, it would be very disadvantageous for him. In the battle, the vermilion bird also saw the current situation. Ignoring the serious injuries on its body, it forcefully raised its cultivation technique and slashed its sword. The sword qi broke through the void and slashed toward the heaven-reaching chain on the other side. As time passed, the heaven-reaching chain that used to be indestructible had lost most of its spirituality. After experiencing the destruction of the battle, it finally couldn't withstand the sword qi anymore. It shattered into pieces. Two of the heaven-reaching chains were broken. The remaining two chains couldn't withstand the weight of the floating island and broke with a bang. Qi Huang Island collapsed and fell from the void, rapidly falling into the sea below. You are courting death. The moment the floating island fell, Ningchen's face was filled with anger. He took a step forward and used the momentum to leap toward the vermilion bird. An immortal sword appeared in his hand. Bang! The vermilion bird blocked the Zhu immortal sword. In the intense vibration, the vermilion bird's sword shattered. The immortal sword slashed down, and a terrifying sword mark appeared on the vermilion bird's chest. It spread from the left shoulder to the right rib. The vermilion bird flew out 100 zhang away, covered in blood. It stabilized its body in a sorry state. Its body was bathed in blood, and it looked extremely miserable. However, as the descendant of the four symbols deities, the vermilion bird's unparalleled vitality allowed it to withstand the fatal sword strike. You can't kill me. The vermilion bird vomited blood. Its body turned illusory, and the vermilion bird clan's inherited secret technique appeared once again. Ningchen's expression sank. He slashed his sword, and the Zhu immortal sword qi slashed through the void. However, it was already too late. The vermilion bird's body turned illusory, as if it had disappeared into thin air. In the void, Ningchen's body fell from the sky, falling into the sea below. At this moment, the white tiger flapped its wings and flew over from afar, supporting its master who was about to fall into the sea. Senior Immortal. The small gourd struggled out of the white tiger's embrace and flew to Ningchen's shoulder. Its young face revealed a concerned expression. Are you all right? I'm fine. Ningchen shook his head. He frowned as he looked at the Qi Huang Island that had fallen into the sea below. The appearance of the vermilion bird had disrupted all his plans. Now that the Qi Huang Island had fallen into the sea, the heavenly talisman and the Qi Huang clan's inheritance had all disappeared. It would never appear again. Man proposes, God disposes. He did not expect this to be the outcome. Senior Immortal, don't be sad. The small gourd could tell what was on Ning Chen's mind. It said in a childish voice, Senior Immortal once said that life is not as you wish. If you get it, it's luck. If you don't, it's fate. Ning Chen smiled when he heard that. You're a fast learner. Forget it. I came here with the mentality of trying my luck. After so many years, no one has found the heavenly talisman. It doesn't make sense that I would find it the moment I came. Let's go back. After that, Ning Chen patted the white tiger beneath him, indicating that they should depart. The white tiger roared and flew towards the northwest direction. Something's not right. Not long after the white tiger flew away, Ning Chen's body suddenly shook. He turned around and looked at the sky, squinting his eyes. Xianqing said before that the human talisman was found in a coffin. A person was buried in the coffin. Xianqing did not tell him the whereabouts of the earth talisman. However, it must be from the Qi Huang Island. Then, the heavenly talisman should be in the sky. Let's go back. Ning Chen patted the white tiger's back and said. The white tiger was confused when it heard that. However, it did not hesitate. It turned around and flew back. In the sky, four broken iron chains were hanging upside down. Ning Chen stood up and stood on the white tiger's back. He asked, Can you fly up? Roar. The white tiger replied. It flapped its wings and flew towards the sky. In the sky, the temperature was getting lower and lower. The clouds disappeared and birds could not fly. The four iron chains could not see the end. They extended all the way to the top of the sky. It was so close yet so far. It was hard to reach. Above the clouds, the white tiger's flying speed was getting slower and slower. It could not see the end of the sky. As the descendant of the four symbols deities, the white tiger felt powerless. Ning Chen looked at the four iron chains. His expression became more and more serious. If he guessed correctly, the heavenly talisman should be at the end of the four iron chains. However, the white tiger seemed to have reached its limit. It was really troublesome. Chapter 1138. Above the sea, the white tiger soared into the sky. After flying through the clouds, it gradually slowed down. Ning Chen stood quietly on the back of the white tiger. Looking at the four iron chains, his expression became more and more serious. In the endless sky, the temperature was terrifyingly low. White frost had even formed on the white tiger's wings. The small gourd was so cold that it hid in the divine prohibition, not daring to come out again. Stop. Seeing that the white tiger had reached its limit, Ning Chen said calmly, Wait here. I'll go up myself. Hearing this, the white tiger stopped and did not force itself to move forward. Ning Chen took a step and leaped up. He grabbed one of the iron chains with both hands and swung himself over it. Then he flew to another iron chain. The cold iron chains were bone-chilling. The moment Ning Chen touched them, frost formed on his hands. However, the frost melted in an instant. It could not hurt the origin of the divine tree. It was difficult for a mortal to ascend to the heavens. Ning Chen's figure moved between the four iron chains. He relied on his physical strength to forcefully fly to the 9th level of the cloud sea. Below, the white tiger flapped its wings and waited in place. Its tiger eyes looked at the sky with a hint of nervousness. In the sky, a white-clothed figure moved quickly. Soon he was thousands of miles away. At the end of his sight, the starry sky seemed to be right in front of him. The end of the four iron chains finally revealed its true appearance. Ning Chen's eyes narrowed. His figure moved faster, and flew to the 9th level of the cloud sea. Looking down from above, the sea and the ground could no longer be seen. Layers of clouds blocked his vision, making him unable to know where he was. In the 9th level of the cloud sea appeared again. The four iron chains went deep into the clouds and gradually disappeared. Ning Chen flew to the clouds and stood on them. He squinted his eyes slightly. Walking on the clouds was like walking in a fairyland, making one feel much more relaxed. The Qi Huang clan was truly an unimaginable clan. The fairyland was surrounded by clouds and mist. There was no land under his feet, but he could support the knowing destiny state without any cultivation. The magical cloud sea was like a real ninth level of heaven. It was so beautiful that it was intoxicating. Ningchen walked on the clouds and looked around, looking for the whereabouts of the heavenly talisman. The sun rose in the east. A day later, the sun set in the west. Above the clouds, Ningchen was still patiently looking for it. He was certain that the heavenly talisman was here. In the west, the sun had set, and the cold moon rose. It was cold at the top, and the cold moon seemed to be within reach. Ningchen walked among the clouds, searching for the heavenly talismans again and again. As midnight approached, the cold moon hung high in the sky. Above the clouds, the temperature was getting lower and lower. Drops of water turned into ice, and even breathing became difficult. Right at this moment, above the clouds, illusory figures appeared one after another. The Great Tao was engraved, recreating the scene from tens of thousands of years ago. The 100 races slaughtered the Qi Huang race. Countless Qi Huang race members fell into a pool of blood. From the experts of the King Tao to the women and children, none of them were spared. The Sky Devil royal family, the Golden Lion tribe, the Scale tribe, the Divine Capital Mountain, the Stone tribe, and all the other royal families except the Sorcerer tribe participated in the battle. Even so, the 100 tribes still suffered heavy casualties. In the illusion, the 9 Peak King Realm elders of the Qi Huang clan used incantations to summon a terrifying god that could destroy the heavens and earth with a wave of his hand. Boom. The scene from tens of thousands of years ago seemed to be real. When the 100 tribes suffered heavy losses, the sovereigns of the 5 royal families joined forces to kill the god, severely injuring the 9 elders of the Qi Huang race. In the end, the illusion could no longer be seen. The figures faded and disappeared in the wind. How do you feel when you see your fellow humans being slaughtered? In the void, an old voice asked. Sad. Ningchen looked back at the blurry old man in the void and replied, You're very smart to be able to find this place. You're the 4th in the past 70,000 years. The old man sighed. Ningchen did not mind. He looked at the old man and said calmly, Is the Qi Huang race a human? Why are there humans in the primordial demon realm? The old man sighed again and said, In ancient times, there was a war between the 2 realms. The 100 tribes of the primordial demon realm invaded the sky beyond heaven. In order to resist the invasion, the humans also sent powerhouses into the primordial demon realm to disturb the stronghold of the 100 tribes. The Qi Huang race is the descendant of those powerhouses. Ningchen fell silent when he heard that. He knew a little about what happened after that. The Queen Mother of the West sealed the passage between the primordial demon realm and the sky beyond heaven. The human powerhouses who went deep into the primordial demon realm would definitely not be able to leave. Young man, why are you here? The old man asked. Heavenly talisman. Ningchen did not hide anything and said honestly, Now that the passage between the primordial demon realm and the sky beyond heaven has been opened again, it's only a matter of time before the primordial demon realm invades the humans. I need a trump card that can resist the sovereigns of the 100 tribes. The old man's eyes were filled with emotion when he heard that. He said, I've waited for tens of thousands of years for the descendants of the humans to come. Unfortunately, after so many years, the number of people who could find this place can be counted on one hand. Every time, it's people from the 100 tribes. Today, I've finally waited for it, but the old man paused and said seriously, The heavenly talisman is different from the human talisman and the earth talisman. If you don't master the Qi Huang art, you won't be able to fully unleash its power. If you want to use it, you must cultivate the Qi Huang art to an extremely high level. This art is different from any cultivation technique or martial arts. No matter how amazing your talent is, it's useless. The key to learning the Qi Huang art is patience and comprehension. Do you understand? Ningchen nodded and bowed like a student. He said respectfully, Senior, please teach me. The old man raised his hand and his expression turned serious. Strange runes appeared, engraved with the wisdom of the Qi Huang race over tens of thousands of years. They flowed continuously into the former's consciousness. The endless runes and incantations were complicated and vast. There wasn't a trace of power mixed in. Only the ocean-like cultivation method needed to be mastered by the descendants. After a full 15 minutes, all the inheritance of the Qi Huang race had flowed into Ning Chen's consciousness. Even someone as strong as knowing destiny felt like his head was exploding. "You're not bad." Looking at the former, who was covered in cold sweat, the old man said with a gratified expression. This kind of inheritance method wouldn't be able to withstand the pain if one's willpower was weak. Even the most outstanding descendants of the Qi Huang race didn't dare to pass down their skills in this way. Gradual progress was naturally the best way. However, he didn't have time. He could only stuff everything into the spiritual consciousness of the person in front of him at once. After obtaining the Qi Huang art, Ning Chen's thoughts spun quickly. Previously, many things that he didn't understand gradually became clear. Ning Chen raised his hand, and a series of incantations appeared indistinctly. Clouds gathered in the surroundings, forming a 3-meter-long cloud dragon that coiled in the air. Seeing this, the old man's eyes flashed with shock. The spiritual attachment method was so fast. After a short moment of shock, the old man came back to his senses. Looking at the young man in front of him, a complicated expression flashed in his eyes. It seems that my worries were unnecessary. The young people of my race couldn't master the spiritual attachment method even after a few months. It seems that not only are you smart, but your comprehension is also unparalleled. My high comprehension ability is indeed one of my few strengths, Ning Chen said with a humble expression. The heavenly talisman originates from the laws of heaven and earth. When you master the Qi Huang art, you can truly control this power. The old man raised his hand. Suddenly, wind and thunder roared in the sky. Clouds and mist surged around the two of them, and the world changed rapidly. Ning Chen looked at the changing world around him, and seemed to be deep in thought. It turned out that the heavenly talisman that he had been looking for was under his feet. Remember, an external object is ultimately an external object. If you want to fight against the Emperor of the 100 Races, you still need to become stronger. The human race has never lost to any race. It was so in the ancient times and it is still so today. After saying that, the old man's illusory figure gradually dissipated. In the blink of an eye, he had completely disappeared. Looking at the Qi Huang Great Elder who had disappeared with the wind, Ning Chen respectfully bowed and sent off the ancestor of the human race. After a while, Ning Chen stood up and formed a seal with both hands to activate the heavenly talisman. Whoosh! At that moment, the floating cloud below him shook violently. The 4 iron chains swayed and in the blink of an eye, they shattered. In the next moment on the floating cloud, incantations crisscrossed endlessly. The floating cloud that was engraved with the laws of heaven and earth formed a world of its own. Ning Chen stood on it and became the only controller. Below, the white tiger that had been waiting for a day heard the commotion above. Shock flashed in its eyes. Not long after, the floating cloud descended from the sky. The white-clothed figure stood quietly and looked at the white tiger in front of her. "Let's go back." After saying that, Ning Chen rode the cloud and disappeared into the distance. The white tiger recovered from its shock and flapped its wings to follow. "Immortal, you know how to ride the clouds." A small gourd flew out from Ning Chen's shoulder and said excitedly, "Don't you know how to fly too? What's there to be curious about?" Ning Chen chuckled. "It's different." The small gourd danced and said, "Look, that big tiger behind me can fly too. However, only immortals can ride the clouds." "Immortal, you're an immortal." Ning Chen smiled and did not refute the small gourd's childish words. Behind, the white tiger looked enviously at the small gourd that was rolling excitedly on the floating cloud. When could it be valued by its master like the small gourd? After a day, the central continent appeared at the end of the sea. Ning Chen's expression also became serious. Next, it was time for the real war. Seeing the change in the immortal's expression, the small gourd flew from the clouds and landed on the former's shoulder. It hid itself obediently and did not disturb him. In the sky above the central continent, Ning Chen descended from the sky. He raised his right hand and runes appeared. Suddenly, the clouds quickly gathered and disappeared into the divine restriction. The white tiger landed at the side and looked at the clouds that disappeared into thin air. Its tiger eyes were filled with confusion. "Let's go." Ning Chen said, and continued to walk forward. The white tiger followed and rushed towards the northwest. Just as knowing destiny returned, the flames of war spread rapidly on the 5 battlefields of the primordial demon region. Flames filled the sky and smoke covered the ground. In the east and southeast of the demon region, the situation was extremely tragic. The 2 strongest princes of the demon race, Xianlai, the world's #1 palm, and Xianqi, the world's #1 sword, attacked. The leaders of the 2 royal families suffered casualties and were defeated. Chapter 1139. In the southeast battlefield of the primitive demon region, the 3 saint protectors of the stone race teamed up to fight against Xianqi. The 4th prince of the sky demon region had shown his power again after hundreds of thousands of years. The #1 sword in the world was invincible. The demon sword Burning Heart shook the 9 heavens. After the battle, one of the 3 saint protectors of the stone race was killed, and the other 2 were injured. In front of the army of 100,000, Xianqi looked at the retreating army of the stone race and didn't chase after them. The stone race was a royal race after all. They wouldn't be defeated so easily. The real war hadn't started yet. Just as the stone race was retreating, a silhouette in plain clothes walked over from afar. Beside him was a white tiger with wings on its back. It had an extraordinary temperament that attracted people's attention. In front of the sky demon army, Xianqi's eyes narrowed. He had guessed the identity of the newcomer. In the primitive demon realm, only the disciple of the 9 underworlds could have such an extraordinary sword intent after losing all his cultivation. Greetings to 4th martial uncle. Ning Chen walked over and bowed respectfully. No need to be so polite. Xianqi said calmly. Where did you go? Chihuang Island. Ning Chen didn't hide anything. Hearing the 2 words, Xianqi's face darkened. What's the matter? The Chihuang race is not weak. I've lost my cultivation for a long time. I went there to find a way to recover my cultivation. Ning Chen said respectfully. Did you find anything? Xianqi said lightly. Other than this white tiger's descendant, nothing else. Ning Chen answered. Xianqi glanced at the white tiger. He didn't care and said indifferently. Our sky demon royal race is the #1 race in the world. We don't need other races' techniques. Cultivating is the right way. Don't disgrace your master's name. I will remember 4th martial uncle's teachings. Ning Chen replied. Go back. Your master should be waiting for you. Xianqi said calmly. Yes, I'll take my leave first. Ning Chen bowed again, and left with the white tiger without saying anything. In front of the army of 100,000 demons, Xianqi stood in the air. The Burning Heart demon sword in his hand was vast and mighty. He looked like the #1 sword in the world. In the distance, Ning Chen sensed something. He raised his hand and gripped his sword. The water and moon appeared out of thin air, and he waved his sword. Sword qi shot out for 10,000 zhang. Above the boundless wasteland, 2 terrifying sword qi collided. In an instant, boundless sword pressure spread out, and the ground within a radius of 10,000 miles crumbled. After that sword strike, Mysterious Strange sheathed his sword in front of the heavenly demon army, and did not attack again. Thank you, 4th martial uncle, for teaching me this move. Ning Chen bowed respectfully behind the towering dust wave, before turning around and leaving. Immortal Elder. Along the way, the small gourd flew out unsteadily. It looked back with some lingering fear and said, that person just now was so powerful. You live up to your reputation as the best sword in the world, Ning Chen said with a smile. Is Immortal Elder more powerful, or is that person more powerful? The small calabash asked in anticipation. In terms of martial arts, he's #1 under the imperial path. Ning Chen said calmly. In terms of swordsmanship, the world's #1 has yet to be proven. When the little gourd heard this, a confused look appeared in its big eyes. It didn't quite understand. In terms of swordsmanship, the barren city has a sword that can shake gods. The great Xia has a sword that is invincible in the world. Ning Chen looked into the distance and said softly, outside of the Divine Prefecture, the #1 swordsman in the Divine Prefecture has reached the 12th sword, and is the only one in the world. Other than these 3 seniors, Mu Qianshang of the Compassionate Sword Heavenly Pavilion uses the sword as a brush and the world as a scroll to form his own path. There's also your immortal elder. Although he's not as good as the two seniors from the Divine Prefecture, it's not impossible for him to compete for the title of the best sword in the world. The small calabash looked envious. The best sword in the world, such a resounding reputation. Roar! On the side, the white tiger growled in agreement. The small calabash was startled. It looked at the white tiger unhappily and said, "Big tiger, you scared me." The white tiger whimpered apologetically and didn't dare to make another sound. Just as the man, tiger, and immortal vine were hurrying toward Sanhuang City, in the void ahead, a figure flashed past. It was so fast that it was shocking. Someone's coming. In the distance, Ningchen sensed it. He narrowed his eyes and said, "Small calabash, hide." The small calabash nodded obediently. It entered the divine restriction and disappeared. Not long after, demonic chi surged above the void. An illusory figure appeared with a golden token in his hand. He said in a deep voice, "13th Prince, here's your order." Seeing the golden token in the former's hand, Ningchen stopped and bowed. The demonic emperor has ordered the 13th Prince, Ningchen, to head to the western battlefield immediately to support Prince Xianmia. There must be no mistakes, the messenger said seriously. "Yes, sir," Ningchen replied respectfully. "Your Highness, the situation on the western battlefield is tense. The two demonic emperors are very concerned. Your Highness should hurry there as soon as possible," the messenger reminded him. Ningchen nodded and said, "Thank you for your reminder, sir. May I ask, what's the situation on the 5 sides now?" In the east and southeast, Prince Xianlai and Prince Xianqi have gone personally. The Divine Capital Mountain and the Stone Tribe are not a problem for now. As for the north and south, although the Sorcerer Tribe and the Scaled Tribe can't defeat them right away, they are still under control. Only on the western battlefield, the strength of the western sacred region is beyond our expectations. Prince Xianmia was severely injured by Sarah, the lord of the 6th palace of the sacred region. Now the morale of the troops on the western battlefield is unstable. So after knowing that Your Highness has returned, the two demonic emperors urgently sent Your Highness to the front line to stabilize the morale of the troops, the messenger replied. Ningchen nodded slightly and said, "Don't worry, sir. I will definitely arrive in 2 days. In that case, I will take my leave first." As soon as he finished speaking, the void shook. The messenger's figure disappeared in an instant. Seeing the messenger leave, coldness flashed through Ningchen's eyes. It turned out that the person heading to the eastern battlefield was Xianlai, the world's #1 palm master. With Xianlai guarding, the leaders of the Divine Capital Mountain would be in for a tough time. As for the Sorcerer Tribe and the Scaled Tribe, he was not too worried. This time, the Sorcerer Tribe would definitely go all out to invade the south. The 12 Sorcerer Queens were not ordinary experts. It would not be easy for the Sky Devil Royal Tribe to defeat the 12 Sorcerer Queens. The Scaled Tribe? He didn't care about them at all. From the very beginning, he had never trusted them. However, the western sacred region was beyond his expectations. Back on the sacred mountain, Sarah, the lord of the 6th palace, had attacked him. He could only describe this person's strength as unfathomable. However, he did not expect that even the second prince of the Sky Devil Royal Tribe would be defeated by Sarah. According to rumors, the lord of the 3rd palace of the sacred region was equally unfathomable. If this was true, then the combat power of the western sacred region was truly terrifying. It was said that the western sacred region was the strongest of the 5 royal tribes, second only to the Sky Devil Royal Tribe, the overlord of the primordial demon region. Now it seemed that this was indeed the case. Let's go to the western battlefield. After thinking for a while, Ningchen collected his thoughts and changed direction, rushing toward the west. The white tiger roared and flapped its wings to follow. In the west of the primordial demon region, the flames of war were burning. The western sacred region's army was advancing toward the east. The 100,000 Sky Devil Royal Tribe that had lost their commander was forced to retreat, suffering heavy casualties. 6 of the 12 palace lords of the sacred region had been dispatched. The strongest 3rd palace and 6th palace were among them. Their shocking combat power made the 100,000 Sky Devil royal tribe invincible. In front of the sacred region's army, 6 men in golden armor stood quietly. Their bodies were bathed in the light of the sun. The king's aura was shocking, and the gods and demons were terrified. Xianmia has been defeated. The 3 imperial cities should send a new general. Luojia, the lord of the third palace, said. Xianlai and Xianqi are far away in the east and southeast. With the divine capital mountain and the stone tribe holding them back, it will be difficult for them to leave in a short time. Other than these 2, it would be useless for the Sky Devil royal tribe to send anyone else. Sarah said calmly. There is one more person. Luojia said seriously. The strongest of the 3 imperial cities, Xianmo. Sarah shook his head and said. This person needs to guard the 3 imperial cities, so he can't come. The current situation in the 3 imperial cities can't be separated from this grand commander of the Forbidden Army. The 2 demon emperors should know this. Luojia looked into the distance and said, the infighting between the 2 Sky Devil princes has taken up a lot of the Sky Devil royal tribe's energy. I wonder how the 2 demon emperors will deal with the current situation. Sarah didn't answer. Although he didn't have any confirmed information, he believed that the current situation in the 3 imperial cities was related to the 13th prince. Report. At this moment, a soldier in armor walked in front of the 6 palace lords. He half knelt and said, the Sky Devil royal tribe has sent a new general. Oh. Hearing this, Luojia was surprised and said, who is it? The 13th prince of the Sky Devil royal tribe. The soldier in armor said respectfully, it's him. Luojia frowned and looked at the lord of the 6th palace. He said, Sarah, you have fought with this person before. How is his strength? Unmeasurable. Sarah said calmly. However, don't worry. This person won't really help the Sky Devil royal tribe to fight against us. The Sacred Lord had already told him the reason why the 13th prince went to the Sacred Realm. This person was the real driving force behind the demon-slaying army. At the same time, Ning Chun brought the White Tiger into the Sky Devil army. The Sky Devil soldiers bowed and welcomed the 13th prince. The 2 demon emperors' imperial edicts had arrived. They knew that the 13th prince would replace Prince Xianmia as the new general. Ning Chun walked in front of the general's tent. The 2 Sky Devil guards bowed respectfully and didn't dare to stop him. Ning Chun entered the tent and looked at the unconscious middle-aged man on the bed. His eyes narrowed slightly. Feng Shidao, the number 1 imperial doctor of the Sky Devil royal tribe, frowned. Obviously, Prince Xianmia's injuries weren't good. Ning Chun walked up and said, Mr. Feng, how is second uncle's injuries? Feng Shidao raised his head. Seeing the person who came, he stood up and bowed. He said, 13th prince, the prince's injuries are very serious. However, what's more troublesome is that there is a special power in the prince's body that has sealed off his 5 senses. The prince hasn't woken up because of this special power. Is there a way to cure him? Ning Chun asked with concern. I will try my best to draw out this power. As for whether it will succeed, I am not too confident. Feng Shidao said with a serious expression. Then I will have to trouble you, Mr. Feng. There are still many things in the camp that I need to deal with. I will leave first. Ning Chun said and didn't stay any longer. He turned and left. Outside the tent, Ning Chun looked back at the unconscious second prince and said indifferently, Can you guys reach the 4th realm after devouring his power? Definitely. The thousands of demons said excitedly. Chapter 1140. Demonic Qi lingered in the heavenly demon ancestral land. The 5 heavenly demon princes had all left for the battle. The demonic aura in the heavenly demon ancestral land had decreased significantly. The messenger returned to the ancestral land and knelt on one knee. Deep inside the ancestral land, the 7 luminaries demon emperor and the 8 desolation demon emperor listened to the messenger's reply quietly. 7 luminaries said calmly, You may leave. Understood. The messenger bowed respectfully, then turned around and left. 9 Serenities doesn't know about it yet. It's best to inform him about 13th prince, said the 8 desolation demon emperor. There's no rush. The 7 luminaries demon emperor said calmly. As the crown prince of the royal family, It's his duty to serve the demon region. 9 Serenities can't say anything even if he knows about it. Our top priority now is to figure out a way to solve the problem on the Western Front. The Western Sacred Region's strength is indeed beyond our expectations. The 8 Desolation Demon Emperor said sternly. The Master of the 6th Palace is already able to severely injure a prince of the heavenly demon royal family. If the Master of the 3rd Palace, whose strength is on par with the 6th Palace, joins the battle, the Western Front will quickly crumble. Legend has it that the Master of the 6th Palace is the reincarnation of the Buddha's disciple, Embark. Therefore, he was born with the power of his divine sense. The Master of the 3rd Palace, Wuxia, has the destructive power of an Emperor realm expert. He's extremely powerful. With these two in charge, the Western Sacred Region will have a hard time fending off the attack. The 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor analyzed calmly. Brother Xianlai and Brother Xianqi still have to deal with the armies of the Divine Capital Mountain and the Stone Tribe. They won't be able to reinforce the Western Sacred Region for the time being. Only Xianmo can fight against the 2 strongest palace masters in the Sacred Region, suggested the 8 Desolation Demon Emperor. No. The 7 Luminaries Demon Emperor rejected it right away. The royal city is in chaos. Xianmo must stay behind to protect the city. Rebellions keep breaking out in the royal city after the battle between Xianzhen and Xianqing. They must be spies planted by the 4 royal families. We have to be careful. The 8 Desolation Demon Emperor fell silent. He had the same concern too. However, if Xianmo did not join the battle, who else in the royal family could stop the Western Sacred Region's attack? 9 Nether's disciple couldn't hold on for too long. Even though his strength was extraordinary, he had to face the 6 palace lords of the Western Holy Region after all. In terms of cultivation, the difference was too great. Temporarily stabilizing the morale of the troops was already the limit. 7 Luminaries said in a serious tone. Actually, there's another candidate, but whether or not he can go depends on your attitude. The 8 Desolation Demon Emperor shuddered upon hearing this. Xianzhen was also the successor that 8 Desolation favored the most. Among the princes of the royal family, only Xianzhen's cultivation is close to the peak emperor realm. However, swords and sabers have no eyes on the battlefield. No one knows what's going to happen. Bahuang, only you can make the decision, the 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor said calmly. The 8 Desolation Demon Emperor was silent. After a long time he sighed and said, just like the disciples of 9 underworlds, Xianzhen is the crown prince of the royal family. It is his duty to serve the demon region. Let's do it this way. Xianzhen will go to the Western Front. In the west of the original Devil Domain, inside the 100,000 Heavenly Devil Army camp, Ningchen was sitting in his tent, quietly listening to a few devil generals reporting the battle situation and losses. Your Highness, we have lost almost half of our army. Our morale is low. If this continues, we will be defeated by our own fear before the Western Sacred Realm arrives. One of the devil generals said with a serious expression. Your Highness, did the 2 devil emperors say when the rest of the devil army will arrive? Also, will there be generals at the peak of the emperor realm? The 2nd devil general asked worriedly. Ningchen raised his hand and tapped on the table softly. He did not answer. The atmosphere in the temporary commander's tent became unusually tense. Dong dong dong. The sound of fingers tapping on the table echoed in the commander's tent. The 5 devil generals felt more and more depressed. They looked at each other. No one could guess what the 13th prince was thinking. Your Highness. The devil general who spoke first was annoyed. He said in a deep voice, have we been abandoned? Are there no reinforcements behind us? The commander's tent fell silent. The 5 devil generals all looked at the young man in front of them, hoping to hear his answer. The 5 royal families had joined forces with the devil realm. Now that all 5 devil emperors had gone to war, they could not think of anyone other than the 5 devil emperors who could stop the attack of the Western Sacred Realm's 6 palace lords. In the commander's tent, Ningchen stopped tapping on the table. He looked at the 5 devil generals calmly and said, reinforcements? Am I not here? What other reinforcements do you want? When the 5 demon generals heard this, they were stunned. Only the 13th prince? Why? Do you think I am not qualified to be the commander? Ningchen said indifferently. The 5 devil generals looked at each other, then stood up and bowed. We dare not. Ningchen did not pursue the matter. He said indifferently, I am the only reinforcements now. As for whether there will be more in the future, I don't know. Instead of blindly hoping for reinforcements, it is better to think about how to deal with the current situation. The 5 devil generals' hearts sank. Were there really no other reinforcements? Had the 2 devil emperors really abandoned them? In the next hour, the atmosphere in the commander's tent became unusually gloomy. The 5 devil generals were in low spirits. No one could make any decent suggestions. Ningchen sat in the tent and only listened quietly. He did not make any suggestions. Half an hour later, the 5 demon generals left the commander's tent with confusion and fear. Ningchen got up and walked to the front of the tent. Looking at the tent that was heavily guarded not far away, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Every imperial prince was an indispensable fighting force for the celestial demon clan. Now that the opportunity was in front of him, he could not let this Prince Xianmia walk back to the celestial demon ancestral land alive. Your Highness. At this moment, a devil soldier quickly walked over and knelt down. The Western Sacred Region has sent someone to deliver a letter of challenge. Ningchen took the letter of challenge, glanced at it and said calmly, accept the challenge. Yes. The kneeling devil soldier replied respectfully. 1,000 miles away, in front of the Western Sacred Region's army, the masters of the 6 sacred palaces stood quietly. Their golden armor was dazzling, and their valiant royal aura made people fearful. Not long later, demonic clouds loomed in front of them. The army of 100,000 a few days ago was now reduced to less than 60,000. In front of the celestial demon army, a white tiger flapped its wings. A white-clothed figure stood on it, looking extraordinarily handsome. It's really him. In front of the Sacred Region's army, Luojia said calmly. Shama, you should fight this battle. Okay. Shama nodded. Only Luojia knew about the agreement between the 13th prince and the Sacred Lord. This battle could not be fought by anyone else. On the other side, the white tiger landed, and Ningchen stepped forward, walking between the 2 armies. The inverted water moon was unsheathed, and the moon demon divine weapon shone brightly. 13th Prince, we meet again. As he spoke, a man shining with golden light walked over. He had a handsome face, and his royal aura was faintly discernible, attracting attention. When we meet on the battlefield, we are enemies. Today, I will not hold back. I hope the palace lord will do the same. Ningchen said calmly. Of course. Shama nodded and opened his eyes. In an instant, an abnormally terrifying king's aura spread out, causing the pressure on the entire battlefield to plummet. Ningchen's expression froze. What a powerful mental energy. Behind him, the 60,000 celestial demon army also felt the shocking mental energy pressure, and their expressions changed. Great Sword Realm. Under everyone's gaze, Ningchen did not hold back. He raised his sword, and his sword intense sword. In an instant, the extreme state of Sword Realm spread out rapidly, and blood-red sword light filled the sky. The Great Sword Realm appeared, and sword pressure swept out. In an instant, the white-clothed figure disappeared. It was so fast that it was hard to see with the naked eye. Clang! The palm and sword collided. Golden light shook around Shama's body, and he used his royal aura to block the peerless divine sword. The Buddhist light and sword chi clashed, and the world rumbled. Above the 2, the clouds parted. In the celestial demon army and the Sacred Region's army, many soldiers looked at the sky in shock. It was such a simple move, but the remaining force could even split the clouds. Were all experts in the King realm so terrifying? Rumor has it that the 13th Prince's cultivation in the Great Sword Realm is amazing. You really live up to your reputation. A demon general in front of the celestial demon army said. No matter how powerful the 13th Prince is, he has only reached the 6th transformation of the celestial demon imperial family's 9 transformations. Besides, rumor has it that the 13th Prince has lost all his cultivation, and his strength will be greatly affected. The 13th Prince's opponent is the Lord of the 6th Palace of the Sacred Region, who is said to be the closest to the imperial path. I'm afraid the 13th prince won't last long, another demon general said. While the two demon generals were talking, the sword light in front of them was crisscrossing, and the palm power was boundless. The battle was white-hot. The two were clearly strong and weak, but the battle was hard to tell who would win. Outside the battle, the leaders of the two armies looked at the battle in front of them with admiration. The battle between the two could only be described as breathtaking. It wasn't that their cultivations were terrifying, but the way they moved could be said to be exquisite and peerless. Every move was not the slightest bit sloppy, and the attack and defense were exceptionally swift and fierce. 13th Prince, are we really going to continue like this? With your current cultivation, you have no chance of winning. In the battle, Shama raised his hand to block the sword light. He looked at the young man in front of him and sent a telepathic message back. Ningchen stepped forward, and his body flickered as he avoided the former's palm power. He replied, "Palace Lord, you don't have to hold back. Besides, there is no ambush in the celestial demon camp. Palace Lord, do you understand?" Hearing that, Shama squinted his eyes. After a while he nodded and said, "Don't worry, Your Highness. When Your Highness loses, the Sacred Region's army will immediately attack the celestial demon camp." As soon as he sent the telepathic message, Shama put his hands together in the middle. In the earth-shattering vibration, boundless golden light illuminated the world. The 6 paths of reincarnation appeared in the world again. While everyone was shocked, 6 huge whirlpools appeared in the battle. Hell-hungry ghost, beast, Azura, heaven and man. The 6 paths appeared, and the boundless death chi engulfed the former. 13th Prince. In front of the celestial demon army, the 5 demon generals' expressions changed, and they cried out in alarm. On the battlefield, Ningchen saw the 6 paths of reincarnation descending from the sky. He rotated his sword to the extreme. In an instant, a dazzling sword light appeared. The sword light was boundless, it was filled with sword intent. Bang! The 2 attacks collided, and blood splattered. With a muffled groan, the white-clothed figure took a few steps back, and the sword was dyed red. In front of the Sacred Region's army, Wuxia, the 3rd Palace Lord, waved his right hand and said, "Kill." With that order, the army moved forward, and the mighty army pressed forward. Chapter 1141. In the western battlefield of the primordial demonic region, the 6 paths of reincarnation had descended. The swordsman was dyed red and retreated several steps. The celestial demonic imperial clan was defeated once again. The moment the outcome of the battle was decided, Shama gave the order to the Sacred Domain army. The army of 100,000 immediately pressed forward. The Sacred Saint army that blotted out the sky pressed forward like an undercurrent. The shocking scene caused fear to rise in people's hearts. In front of the celestial demonic army, the 5 demon generals recovered from their shock. Before they could think, the Sacred Domain army had already arrived. As the 2 armies clashed, the sky changed color. After a while, thousands of broken bodies fell from the sky and smashed into the ground. The blood that filled the sky was like heavy rain, dyeing the wilderness red bit by bit. In the battle below, a figure in plain clothes with half his body dyed red stood with a sword in his hand. In front of him, Shama blocked the path. His golden battle armor shone with a dazzling light, making it difficult to look at him directly. Around the two, corpses were strewn everywhere. Blood rained down from the sky, making the battle even more cruel. Although this is a fake battle, your strength still shocked me. Shama looked at the youth before him and said seriously, "Acting is only believable when it is real. Let's continue. I will not retreat. The celestial demonic army will not retreat either." Ningchen raised his blood-stained right arm and pointed his sword forward as he spoke calmly. Shama nodded and shouted. His body glowed with golden light as he flew out. The battle started again. When the two started fighting again, the battle in the sky became even more intense. Wuxia, the head of the 5 palaces, faced 5 celestial demonic generals alone. Every move he made was accompanied by a golden sage technique, dazzling world. His attacks were comparable to the explosion of a star, suppressing the 5 celestial demonic generals. Boom. An earth-shattering collision rang out. Golden waves swept out in front of Luojia, and the 5 celestial demonic generals were all sent flying. Blood dyed the sky. In the battle below, Ningchen used his sword to shake off the battle. He looked at the sky and squinted his eyes. It was about time. Retreat! Ningchen shouted, and his order spread throughout the battlefield. Then he took a step forward and leaped up. Roar! The white tiger roared at the sky. It flapped its wings and flew under Ningchen. Then, it carried its master and flew to the east of the battlefield. In the battle in the sky, when the 5 demon generals heard the order, they did not dare to hesitate and immediately retreated. You can't leave. At the front, Luojia's expression was cold. Above his hands, golden light soared. Numerous large golden stars appeared and exploded. With a loud rumble, the battlefield in the horizon collapsed. The expressions of the 5 demon generals changed drastically. They joined forces to block the force of the star's explosion. With a muffled groan, the 5 heavenly demon war generals vomited blood at the same time. Cracks appeared around 2 of them, and in the blink of an eye, they exploded. The splattering blood covered the entire battlefield. The other 3 demon generals suppressed the fear in their hearts and immediately retreated. Without a doubt, it was a crushing defeat. The 60,000 Sky Demon army quickly retreated towards the east. Their defeat was like a landslide. The Devil army, whose morale was in chaos, could no longer resist the assault of the Sacred Realm army. After chasing for 3,000 miles, the Heavenly Demon army had already retreated far away. In the void, Luojia looked at the Heavenly Demon camp in the distance and asked, "Should we pursue them or not?" The collapse of the Heavenly Demon army was indeed a good opportunity to pursue. However, he was worried that there might be an ambush ahead. If that was the case, it would not be worth it to continue chasing. Pursue. Beside him, Sarah replied, "There is no ambush ahead. This is a good opportunity to defeat the Heavenly Demon army in one fell swoop." Luojia nodded and did not ask any more questions. He immediately ordered, "Pursue." With that order, the 100,000 Sacred Realm army in the void immediately pursued towards the east. They covered the sky and the sun, shocking everyone. In the Heavenly Demon camp, the defeated Heavenly Demon army immediately reinforced the fortifications. Array patterns rose and crisscrossed, sealing off the camp. In front of the army, Ningchen, whose half-body was dyed red, looked at the 3 demon generals who were lucky enough to survive. 13th Prince. One of the demon generals spoke with a heavy expression. "We can't hold this place anymore. Let's retreat." "Prince, where there is life, there is hope." Another demon general spoke. "The Sacred Realm's attack is too strong. With our current strength, it is impossible to block it. We can only retreat." Ningchen waved his hand, and the moon in the water turned upside down. He looked at the 2 and said coldly, "I would rather die in battle than retreat." "Prince." The 3 demon generals' expressions changed as they said anxiously. "No need to say any more," Ningchen said. "Our Heavenly Demon Imperial family has never had a crown prince who retreated without fighting. I will not be one." The 3 demon generals looked at each other and saw the heaviness in each other's eyes. The Heavenly Demon Imperial family's selfishness would never change. For the sake of his reputation, he would sacrifice all his soldiers? Ningchen did not bother with the 3 anymore. He looked at the distant horizon. It was about time for them to catch up. Just as he was thinking, a golden light appeared in the western horizon. A boundless king's aura quickly spread out, shaking heaven and earth. "Prepare for battle." Ningchen looked at the 3 demon generals beside him and said coldly, "Yes." The 3 heavenly demon generals had no choice but to accept the order. They quickly left to prepare for the upcoming battle. In front of the demon army, Ningchen roared. Sword intent rose around him, sharp and threatening as it rushed towards the 9 heavens. Nirvana. Nirvana reappeared with boundless might. In the sky above the demon camp, sword lights were displayed, magnificent and unparalleled. In an instant, sword lights broke through the sky and swept towards the Sacred Realm army in the distance. In front of the Sacred Realm army, Luojia, the 3rd Palace Lord, looked at the sword lights in front of him and narrowed his eyes. Galaxy dazzling. Luo Jia stepped forward, and the starlight around him flickered. His body erupted, and suddenly, the starlight in front of the army gathered into a galaxy. In an instant, the sword lights and starlight collided, and a rumbling sound echoed throughout the western part of the demon territory. In front of Luo Jia, the sword lights quickly dissipated. The Sacred Realm King forcibly withstood the Nirvana's might. After one move, the 3 Sacred Realm Palace lords in golden armor behind Luo Jia walked forward. Looking at the array in the sky above the heavenly demon camp, they gathered their chi and used all their might. The 3 late-stage King Realm experts worked together, and the wind and clouds changed. Dazzling golden light gathered from all directions. A forbidden power gathered in front of the 3, and their might rose rapidly. Not good. In the heavenly demon army, the 3 demon generals' expressions changed. What a terrifying power. In the next moment, the golden light beam pierced through the sky and swept towards the demon camp. Boom. In an earth-shattering tremor, the 2 huge forces collided. The array above the heavenly demon army shattered, and the aftershock spread out, causing the ground below to collapse. The terrifying aftershock swept through the demon camp, and thousands of screams rang out. Blood and bones flew everywhere, and it was extremely tragic. In the sky, the 6 Sacred Realm Palace lords descended from the sky. Their golden armor shone brightly under the sun, and no one dared to look directly at them. "Shama, you'll be in charge of the heavenly demon imperial prince," said Luo Jia. "Okay." Shama nodded and scanned with his divine sense, then walked towards the tent in front of him. Around the tent, more than 10 royal guards staggered and stabilized their bodies. They looked at the man walking in front of them with serious expressions. "All of you back off." Sarah raised her hand, and a majestic energy swept out. The dozen or so Red Dust Realm Imperial Army soldiers were immediately sent flying, unable to resist at all. The Sacred Realm Palace Lord, who was the closest to becoming an emperor in the world, once again displayed his amazing ability. It was an absolute suppression. The area within a radius of 100 zhang became a no-fly zone. No one could get close. Under the royal aura, the tent collapsed. Inside the tent, the #1 royal physician of the heavenly demon imperial family, Feng Shidao, had his back facing everyone. The silk thread on his right hand extended and entered Prince Xianmia's body. Seeing this, Shama frowned slightly. He raised his hand, and a golden light spread out, grabbing Prince Xianmia. Arg! Feng Shidao stepped forward and used his body to block the attack. The golden light pierced through his body, bringing out a fountain of blood. "I, Feng Shidao, am the royal physician of the heavenly demon imperial family. I won't allow anyone from the heavenly demon imperial family to die in front of me." Drops of blood flowed down along the demonic silk. Feng Shidao looked at the unconscious Prince Xianmia in front of him, and his demonic yuan surged. A powerful flame of life entered the latter's body, helping him recover his senses. In the distance, Ningchen sensed something. He looked back at the tent, and his expression changed slightly. Not good. In front of the tent, Shama also sensed the powerful demonic energy coming from Prince Xianmia's body. His expression became serious, and he didn't waste any more time. Shama didn't allow any variables to appear. He used his famous technique, the 6 paths of reincarnation, and suppressed the 2. Just as the 2 were being swallowed by the reincarnation, the demonic cultivator on the bed opened his eyes. His demonic chi exploded, and it was even stronger than before. "Mr. Feng, thank you. Have a safe journey to the Yellow Springs." Xianmia stood up and raised the 6 paths of reincarnation. He looked at the exhausted Feng Shidao and said calmly, seeing the second prince of the heavenly demon imperial family wake up, Feng Shidao's tired eyes revealed a trace of relief. However, before he could finish his sentence, his body collapsed. He had completed the mission given to him by the 2 demon emperors. On the battlefield, the demon king reappeared. His demonic aura was even stronger than before. He raised his hand and dispersed the 6 paths of reincarnation. He looked at the lord of the 6th palace in front of him with killing intent. "New and old grudges, let's end them all today," Xianmia said coldly. Demonic chi spread out from his body. Instantly, a huge demonic figure appeared in the sky. It was 6,000 feet tall, and it was indomitable. Seeing this, Shama didn't dare to be careless. He clasped his hands together and rose into the sky. Boundless golden light illuminated the world. As the Sanskrit chants filled the sky, the Buddha appeared again. The Venerable of the world preached, and the Demon King exterminated the world. Two dazzling moves clashed, and victory and defeat were decided. At this moment, a white-clothed figure flashed by outside the battlefield. Sword rotation 12, shocking the world. Second martial uncle, let me help you. As he spoke, the shocking sword merged with the demonic figure. The two moves merged, forming a move that could kill gods and destroy Buddhas. Boom. A shocking collision sounded. With the three as the center, a terrifying shockwave spread out rapidly, destroying everything in sight. Three muffled groans sounded. In the sky, the golden Buddha collapsed. Shama's figure flew out and retreated 100 feet. On the opposite side, the demonic figure also collapsed. In the shocking scene, golden light pierced through Xianmia's chest. A huge hole appeared, shocking everyone. With a thump, the demonic cultivator fell to the ground. The words he didn't have time to say were forever buried in the earth. On the side, Ningchen clutched his chest. Blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. No one could see the bone-chilling coldness in his eyes. Chapter 1142. In the west of the primordial demon region, the flames of war raged as the Sacred Realm army pressed forward, covering the sky. In the celestial demon camp, countless celestial demon soldiers were slaughtered by the Sacred Realm army. After successive defeats, the once invincible celestial demon army had lost all their vigor, unable to fight back. At the front of the battle, the strongest experts of the two armies were fighting. The second celestial demon prince Xianmia woke up from his coma and blocked the master of the sixth palace. Two peerless experts at the peak of the king realm clashed. A shocking scene appeared before everyone's eyes. Golden light pierced through the demon's chest, bringing out blood. On the other side, Shama's figure flew back hundreds of meters. He stumbled and barely managed to stabilize himself. Arg! With a muffled groan, Shama spat out a mouthful of blood, dyeing his golden armor red. The final move of the celestial demon prince was extremely powerful. Even Shama, who was said to be the closest to the sovereign realm, could not block the demonic might and was heavily injured. After the final move, the outcome was decided. The demon fell to the ground, dyeing the ground red with blood. Even in death, his eyes could not close. There was anger in his confusion. The second celestial demon prince died with his eyes wide open. How can this be? In the distance, the three demon generals' expressions changed drastically. With Prince Xianmia's strength, how could he be defeated in one move? Thank you, Master. Demonic souls flickered within Xianmia's body as he spoke. We don't have much time. Don't waste any more time. He raised his hand to wipe away the blood at the corner of his mouth. He looked at the lord of the sixth palace in front of him and said calmly, Xianmia is a prince of the celestial demons. I must send him back to the three imperial city. Hearing this, Shama frowned and said, I must take this person with me. Although he did not know what had just happened, he must take this Prince Xianmia away. Every prince of the celestial demon royal family was an extremely powerful existence. Even if they died, their value was extraordinary. If the sacred realm could obtain the celestial demon royal family's body tempering technique, their strength would undoubtedly increase greatly. Since we cannot come to an agreement, then let's fight. Ningchen replied coldly. The moon demon god's sword in his hand shone brightly. Although they were in the Demon Slayer alliance, they could not back down in front of benefits. Sarah's expression turned serious. She also understood this principle. Golden light rose from her body, and her king's might continued to spread. Just as the two of them started fighting again, Xianmia's body was being devoured by thousands of devils. The ocean-like devil chi was being devoured by thousands of devils to nourish his thousand devil soul body. The miserable war, the slaughter, and the cries covered the scheme. The lives of the army of extraterrestrial devils were like weeds that were gradually harvested in the merciless scheme. Boom. Not long after, thunder rumbled in the 9 heavens. Dazzling lightning streaked across the horizon. and illuminated the world. This is. On the battlefield, the Saint Domain Palace masters looked up at the sky with serious expressions. Mortal tribulation. What kind of person was transcending tribulation at this time? Find the person undergoing the tribulation. Immediately. We cannot let the heavenly tribulation descend, Luo Jia said in a low voice. The other 3 palace masters nodded and released their divine senses to search for the person who was undergoing the tribulation. Boom. A second clap of thunder resounded in the sky, followed by a third, a fourth. More and more thunderclouds gathered and stirred. Their might becoming more and more terrifying. When the 3 palace masters saw this, their expressions changed drastically. This aura meant that more than one person was going to transcend tribulation. At the front of the battlefield, sword radiance and golden light crisscrossed. The battle between the 2 began again. After 3 moves, they separated. Shama stopped and looked at the sky with a solemn expression. Not good. Luo Jia retreat. Without hesitation, Shama immediately sent a telepathic message to remind him. In the distance, Luo Jia also felt the increasingly terrifying aura of the heavenly tribulation in the sky. Without hesitation he ordered, retreat. At the order, the army immediately stopped fighting and retreated like a torrent. Not long after the army of the Saint Domain retreated from the battlefield, thunderbolts descended from the 9 heavens and engulfed the heavenly devil camp. Far away, Xianzhen, who was ordered to support the western battlefield, felt the shocking power of the heavenly tribulation in the distant sky. He stopped and his eyes flashed. Behind him, the 30,000 green armor army also stopped. They were shocked by the terrifying power in the west. Eldest brother. Behind Xianzhen, the 10th princess Xianyu said with a solemn expression. Something might have happened in front. You take the army and follow. I'll go first and see what's happening in front. Xianzhen instructed before he took a step forward and rushed forward. The power of the heavenly tribulation was too unusual. It looked like the mortal tribulation, but in fact, its power was far beyond the ordinary king's tribulation. On the western battlefield, thousands of demons faced the heavenly tribulation. Under the sea of thunder, the center of the heavenly devil camp was immediately scorched. There was no place left intact. In the dazzling thunderbolts, a white-clothed figure stood quietly. The divine prohibition light around her flickered and covered her aura. In front, demonic shadows flew out of Xianmia's body. Thousands of demons entered the ghost immortal realm. When the demons left Xianmia's body, it was immediately burned by the thunderbolts. Demonic qi spread everywhere and was quickly purified by the heavenly tribulation. Master, the demons knelt and asked for protection. They were souls and could not withstand the power of the heavenly tribulation. Ghost immortals were ghosts after all. How could they withstand the power of the heavenly tribulation? Ning Chun waved his sword and dispersed the thunderbolts falling from the sky. The divine prohibition light around him spread and protected the demons. Having lost their target, the thunderbolts in the 9 heavens kept roaring but did not fall. Boom. In the distance, a heavenly devil general wanted to escape, but the thunderbolts broke through the sky and quickly swallowed him. In the shrill scream, the thunderbolts purified the filth. The body of the heavenly devil general burned quickly. 13th prince, save me. The heavenly devil general screamed. Sorry, I can't save you. In the divine prohibition space, Ning Chun said indifferently. He had no intention of helping. After a few breaths, the heavenly devil general's aura gradually disappeared. No one could withstand the 1,000-demon tribulation. Even king realm cultivators would find it difficult to survive. In the east, Xianzhen's figure flashed past, moving faster and faster. Feeling the power of the heavenly tribulation quickly dissipating, his expression became more and more serious. How could it be so fast? Could it be that the person facing the heavenly tribulation had succeeded? Under the thunderbolts, Ningchen looked toward the east and narrowed his eyes. This aura belonged to Xianzhen. He came really quickly. It seemed that the 2 demon emperors were very worried about the battle here. However, he was still too late. In the divine prohibition, thousands of demons disappeared and entered the soul-suppressing banner. When the heavenly tribulation was about to dissipate, Ningchen waved his hand and dispersed the divine prohibition. allowing the remaining power of the heavenly tribulation to strike him. With a rumble, the thunderbolt struck his body. A smear of red seeped out of the corner of his mouth. Ning Chen stumbled and fell. In the sky, the last of the heavenly tribulation's power dissipated. The clouds scattered and the wind cleared. The sky became clear again. On the ground, Xianmia's body had been completely burned by the heavenly tribulation. Only ashes remained of the undying demon body. Outside the heavenly devil camp, the heavenly devil soldiers far away from the heavenly tribulation looked at the scorched ground in front of them. The fear in their eyes didn't fade for a long time. Prince Xianmia, 13th Prince. The two demon generals who were lucky enough to survive came back to their senses. They immediately went forward and looked for the two. In the scorched ground, a figure in plain clothes lay on the ground. Half of her body was covered in blood. 13th Prince. Seeing this, a demon general flashed past and stepped forward. After checking her injuries, he let out a long sigh of relief. Luckily, her aura was still there. Her life shouldn't be in danger. At this moment, the void in the east rolled. A powerful figure walked out. Looking at the scorched ground in front of him, he frowned. Feeling the powerful demon chi behind them, the two demon generals turned around. When they saw the person's face, they immediately knelt down and bowed. They said respectfully, "Greetings, Your Highness." "Stand up and reply." Xianjun looked at the two and said in a deep voice, "What happened? Who was undergoing the heavenly tribulation just now?" The two demon generals stood up and looked at each other. One of them replied respectfully, "Your Highness, we didn't see anyone undergoing the heavenly tribulation. The heavenly tribulation came and went suddenly. There was no sign at all." Hearing this, Xianjun frowned again. He looked over and saw the unconscious 13th Prince behind one of the demon generals. He said calmly, "How are the 13th Prince's injuries?" "Your Highness, the 13th Prince's injuries aren't light. However, his life shouldn't be in danger." The demon general who checked on Ning Chen's injuries replied. Xianjun nodded. He looked at the few remaining heavenly demon soldiers around the camp. His expression turned cold. There were probably less than 20,000 heavenly demon soldiers left. In just a few days, they had suffered such heavy losses. His royal uncle and royal brother had really left him a huge gift. He only brought 30,000 green armor soldiers. He thought that at least half of the heavenly demon army would be left. With the two armies joining forces, they wouldn't be too far off from the sacred army. He didn't expect that the losses here would be so heavy. Even if the green armor soldiers arrived, the difference in their numbers would be double that of the sacred army. With such a huge difference in numbers and the combat power of the 6 sacred palace masters, they still had no chance of winning the upcoming battle. Let's settle the 13th Prince down first. When the green armor soldiers arrive, we'll talk about fighting the enemy, Xianjun said in a deep voice. Yes. The two demon generals accepted the order respectfully. At the same time, to the west of the celestial demon camp, in front of the retreating sanctum army, the 6 sanctum palace lords looked at the thick demonic clouds in the distance with solemn expressions. The reinforcements of the heavenly demon army had arrived. There were at least 30,000 of them. Sarah, what was that heavenly tribulation just now? Luo Jia asked in a serious tone. I'm not sure. Sarah shook her head. However, it definitely has something to do with the 13th Prince. Also, there's something wrong with Xianmia's death. Oh, what do you mean? Luo Jia asked. When Xianmia woke up, I clearly felt that his strength was stronger than before. However, during the last move, Xianmia was suddenly exposed. It was as if he was being controlled by something. The moment he attacked, all his flaws were exposed, Sarah said in a serious tone. There were too many uncertainties in this battle. Coupled with the sudden appearance of heavenly tribulation, everything was hard to understand. Although they didn't know what had happened, there was no doubt that the 13th Prince was behind everything. From the looks of it, the 13th Prince had been manipulating this battle from the beginning to the end. This person's mind was terrifying. Chapter 1143. The heavenly demon camp was devastated after the battle. The green armor army arrived and gathered with the rest of the heavenly demon army. They immediately strengthened the defense array. In the camp, Xianzhen listened to the report of the two demon generals, and his face became gloomier. Prince Zuanmi's body is gone? Xianzhen asked in a low voice. Are you sure that the Western Sanctuary didn't take his body away? Your Highness, the Western Sanctuary did want to take his body, but they were stopped by the 13th Prince. A demon general replied respectfully. Then the heavenly tribulation suddenly came, and the Western Sanctuary retreated. The 13th Prince and Prince Zuanmi were in the center of the heavenly tribulation, and we couldn't see what was happening inside. When the heavenly tribulation ended, the 13th Prince was unconscious, and Prince Zuanmi's body disappeared. Xianzhen frowned. The body of a demon prince wasn't inferior to any weapon. It shouldn't have been destroyed so easily by the heavenly tribulation. In a tent not far away, a figure in plain clothes was lying on the bed. Beside him, the 10th Princess Xianyu was patiently checking the injuries in the former's body. She squinted her eyes. It turned out that the rumor that the 13th Prince had lost all his cultivation was true. Her 13th Prince was indeed extraordinary to be able to survive the heavenly tribulation without any cultivation. After checking for a long time, Xianyu gathered energy in her right palm, and a vast amount of demonic qi flowed into the former's body. Outside the tent, Xianzhen, who had finished listening to the report of the two demon generals, looked at the tent behind him coldly. The 13th Prince and Xianqing were on the same side, and they couldn't be left alive. However, there were many spies in the camp, and it wasn't easy to do it. They had to find another way. Your Highness. At this moment, a familiar figure walked out of the Green Armor Army and bowed respectfully. What's the matter? Xian Luo. Xianzhen looked at the person in front of him and said calmly, Your Highness, please send the 13th Prince back to the Imperial City for treatment. Xian Luo said seriously. Oh. Xianzhen looked surprised when he heard Su Mo's words. Are you confident? Xian Luo nodded and said, with his current injuries he has almost no ability to fight back. Killing him will be easy. Good. Xianzhen replied. I will find a reason to send 13th brother back to the Imperial City. After that it will depend on your capabilities. Remember, don't let this opportunity slip by. This subordinate understands. A cold smile flashed across Xian Luo's face as he said, A lion will use its full strength even when hunting a rabbit. I won't let such a good opportunity go to waste. Eldest brother. While the two of them were conversing, Xianyu walked out from the back of the tent. She looked at the crown prince and said, 13th brother's injuries are not light, and it will be difficult for him to recover in a short period of time. Now that Mr. Feng has met with an accident, and is unable to treat 13th brother, sending 13th brother back to the Imperial City might be the best choice. When Xianzhen heard this, the corners of his lips curled up. What he wanted to hear had come true. Since Xianyu had spoken first, it saved him the trouble of finding excuses. Let's do as 10th sister says. Xianzhen collected his thoughts and said with a smile, Now that the war is intense, I can't do anything at the same time. I can only leave the matter of 13th brother to 10th sister. Brother Feng Xian, I will make the arrangements. Xianyu nodded before turning around and walking back into the tent. After Xianyu entered the tent, Xianzhen turned around and looked at the man in front of him. He said calmly, Your chance is here. Go and prepare. Your subordinate will take his leave. Xian Luo bowed respectfully before turning around and leaving. In front of the tent, Xianzhen stood quietly with a cold expression. With Xianyu handling the matter of 13th brother, no one would be able to suspect him if anything happened to him. Inside the tent, a white-clothed figure was sleeping peacefully. Her white hair was dyed red, making her look exceptionally dazzling. As the sun set and the moon rose, 3 carriages left one after another outside the military camp. The carriages were pulled by desolate beasts so fast that it was hard to see them clearly. Not long after, they disappeared into the night. In front of the military camp, 2 figures stood in the dark, watching the 3 carriages leave. 10th sister is indeed cautious. The 3 carriages left at different times and are not too far away from each other. If anything happens to one of the carriages, the people in the other 2 carriages will know very quickly and take 13th brother away. Therefore you must strike him with one strike. There is no chance of making a mistake, Xianzhen said coldly. Xianluo nodded and said, if it were someone else, they might make a mistake. However, the 13th prince's power was taken from me. I will not make such a mistake. Xianzhen nodded and said, that would be for the best. Go. Wait until 13th brother is far away before you act. Don't leave any evidence behind. Yes. Xianluo replied respectfully. Without further delay, he took a step forward and chased after the 13th prince. Under the night sky, 3 carriages pulled by desolate beasts passed by on the western land of the primitive demon region. The rumbling sound of the carriages broke the silence of the night. Just as the 3 carriages were about 10,000 miles away, demonic aura surged in the void above. Not long after, a powerful palm force broke through the void and smashed the last carriage. A demon general carried the unconscious Ning Chen out of the carriage and dodged the fatal palm strike. Xianluo's figure slowly descended from the surging demonic aura. He looked at the demon general in front of him and said calmly, put down the 13th prince and I will spare your life. I can't do that. The demon general's expression darkened as he replied. Then you can go to hell. Xianluo snorted coldly and did not say anything else. He took a step forward and dashed out. The demon general swung his halberd and charged towards Xianluo. The halberd and palm collided. With a loud boom, a violent tremor shook the wilderness. Demonic flames burned around Xianluo. He circulated his cultivation technique and sent the demon general flying. 10 steps away, the demon general staggered and stabilized himself. Blood dripped from the corner of his mouth. There was a clear difference in strength. In just one move, the victor was decided. 6 ultimates of the celestial demon, astral transformation. The royal clan's ultimate move appeared again. Xianluo raised his hand and many stars appeared. The powerful astral energy crashed into the demon general in front of him. With a groan, blood dyed the sky. The demon general retreated, unable to withstand the might of the royal clan's ultimate move. You are not bad. However, you met me. Before the demon general finished speaking, Xianluo arrived before him and punched him, bringing out a waterfall of blood. With a groan, blood spurted out of the demon general's chest and splashed on his face. This miserable scene was unbearable. 10th princess, this subordinate has done his best. The demon general looked through the dark night at the distant army camp. With his final words, his hands drooped down powerlessly as his soul returned to the netherworld. Xianluo pulled back his arm and looked at the fallen demon general in silence. Brave and loyal soldiers deserved respect at all times. Unfortunately, he couldn't let him live. With the demon general dead, Xianluo looked at the still unconscious figure not far away. He walked forward step by step but didn't rush to attack. In this world, the person he wanted to get rid of the most was without a doubt the Zhiming Marquis from the inner world. However, this person was definitely not someone easy to deal with. In the several times they had fought, whether it was when he had the absolute advantage or later when their strength had been reduced, he had never gained an advantage. What made him fear this person the most wasn't his strength, but his unfathomable scheming. He would be the first to not believe that this person didn't have any tricks up his sleeve, and put him in such a dangerous situation. Zhiming Marquis, the spies around you have been eliminated. There is no need to pretend anymore. Get up, I have something to discuss with you, Xianluo said. In front of him, the sleeping figure still didn't move. It was as if he was really unconscious and hadn't woken up. Xianluo narrowed his eyes. After a moment, he walked forward step by step. 10 steps away, Xianluo stopped. Demonic qi surged in his hand as he prepared to strike. After a few breaths of stalemate, Xianluo no longer hesitated. He rushed out and struck with a thunderous palm. At this moment, thousands of demons roared in the sky. Demonic shadows appeared one after another and blocked the former's palm. In the earth-shattering tremor, dust and sand surged like waves, blocking one's sight. In front of him, the figure in plain clothes had disappeared. Xianluo's expression changed at the same time as he quickly retreated. But at this moment, a dazzling sword light appeared in the dust. It was so beautiful and perfect that it didn't seem to belong to the mortal world. After condensing the sword for a long time, the figure in plain clothes flashed through the dust, and the sword opened the path to the underworld. Ugh! The sword entered his body and blood flowed out. Xian Luo made a prompt decision and grabbed the sword edge to stop the sword. An invisible sword. Ning Chen stepped forward, spinning the sword and pushing out with a palm to help. The sword edge went in another inch. Xian Luo retreated again and again. Blood kept dripping from his chest, and the hand holding the sword, dyeing the sword edge red. Jiming Marquis, you can't kill me. Xian Luo's expression turned cold. He condensed his palm again and attacked back. Seeing this, Ning Chen pulled out his sword and dodged the former's palm. 10 feet away, Ning Chen stopped and didn't rush to attack again. He looked at the man in front of him with undisguised killing intent. Xian Luo's strength was even stronger than before. Although he hadn't reached the late king realm, he wasn't far from it. So, can we talk now? Xian Luo looked at the young man in front of him and said in a low voice, I said that you can't kill me. Now, I don't have the confidence to kill you either. Let's put aside our hatred and talk. What is there to talk about between us? Ning Chen said coldly. In the primitive demon realm, I'm the only one who knows your identity. Maybe it's fine now, but once the war between the two realms breaks out, the primitive demon realm and the human race will become mortal enemies. Do you think the 3 demon emperors will let you go then? Xian Luo said in a low voice. If you want to talk, then talk. I won't stop you. Ning Chen waved his hand and put away his sword. He said indifferently, however, you said that it will happen after the war between the two realms breaks out. Now the primitive demon realm and the human race haven't reached the point of life and death. Even if you tell them my identity, the 3 demon emperors won't do anything to me for the sake of Xianjiuyo. At that time, do you think my master will still tolerate your existence? Xian Luo's expression darkened when he heard this. He had been hiding this secret for a long time mainly because he was afraid of the terrifying 9 Serenities demon emperor. Everyone knew that 9 Serenities demon emperor was protective of his disciples. For this disciple, Xianjiuyo had fought with the 3 demon emperors in the imperial city, more than once. This was something that everyone had seen with their own eyes. Put away your threats. It won't benefit you if both sides suffer. I don't think you're stupid enough to make such a choice, Ning Chen said calmly. The Jiming Marquis of the Great Xia really understands human nature. Xian Luo said in a low voice. Then let's talk about cooperation. Chapter 1144. In the primeval demon region, swordsmen and demons faced each other in the western wilderness. After several deadly fights, they temporarily stopped. Under the night sky, the 2 men looked at each other with murderous intent in their eyes. However, neither of them would attack unless they were absolutely sure. Jiming Marquis, let's talk. Xian Luo looked at the young man in front of him and said calmly, I can continue to hide your identity and even help you fight Xianzhen. How about that? With your situation in the celestial devil royal family, it's imperative that you kill Xianzhen. Ning Chen narrowed his eyes and said coldly, haven't you already joined Xianzhen? With your strength, Xianzhen will definitely put you in an important position. Why do you still want to betray your master? Betray my master? Huh. Xian Luo sneered and said, Xianzhen alone is not qualified to be my master. Jiming Marquis, you should seriously consider my suggestion. Instead of fighting each other, why don't we join forces and achieve our goals? What do you want? Or rather, what can you get by joining forces with me? Ning Chen said calmly. I want the fate of the celestial devil clan, Xian Luo said in a low voice. Oh. Ning Chen's eyes flashed with surprise and said, only the 2 princes are qualified to inherit the fate of the celestial devil clan. Do you think you have the chance? It seems not now, but it doesn't mean it won't happen in the future. Xian Luo smiled and said, now that the 5 royal families are joining forces to kill demons, and Demon Emperor Kuan-1 is trapped in the easternmost land, the celestial devil clan seems to be flourishing, but it's actually very dangerous. When the time is right, the emperors of the 5 royal families will definitely act, and then the chance I've been waiting for will come. Ning Chen frowned. How could the fate of the celestial devil clan be so easily obtained? If that was the case, Xian Zhen and Xian Qing wouldn't be fighting each other to the death. Xian Luo must have some scheme or support that he didn't know about, or he wouldn't be so eager to cooperate with him. While he was thinking, the two carriages in front of him turned back and sped up. Apparently, they had sensed the fluctuations of the battle behind them and rushed back. What do you think, Jiming Marquis? This should be a win-win situation for you. If you cooperate with me, not only will you not have to worry about your identity being exposed, but you will also have an ally to deal with the crown prince. Why not? Xian Luo asked again as he felt the aura coming closer and closer. Ning Chen calmly looked at the demonic cultivator in front of him. A moment later, a smile appeared on his face as he said, "Perhaps you're right. In the current situation, we should put aside our grudges and work together to fight against greater dangers." Xian Luo smiled and said, "Exactly. Then I wish us a happy cooperation in advance." Ning Chen raised his hand and smiled. "I look forward to working with you." Xian Luo took a step forward and raised his hand as well. Bang! A palm as heavy as Mount Tai shook the mountains and the earth. The two of them high-fived, announcing the temporary end of their enmity and the beginning of their cooperation. They looked at each other and smiled, but their killing intent was still hard to conceal. Neither of them said anything more and left. The two of them disappeared into the night. It was destined that swordsmen and demonic cultivators would never walk the same path. In front of them, two carriages quickly arrived. Seeing the young man walking alone in the night, the two demonic generals immediately got off the carriage and bowed respectfully. 13th Prince, please forgive me for being late. Rise. Ning Chen said calmly. The assassins have retreated. Let's return to the city. Yes. The two demonic generals respectfully accepted the order. In the next moment, the two carriages set off once again. The rumbling sounds echoed through the night as they sped towards the three imperial city. In the western territory, Xian Luo had returned to the Sky Demon camp. Xian Zhen was waiting in the commander's tent. Seeing the person who had arrived, he asked calmly, "How was it?" "We failed," Xian Luo said with a gloomy expression. "The 13th prince didn't faint at all, and he's even stronger than before. Perhaps Prince Zuanmi's death has something to do with him. Back then, he could devour half of my body, and now he can do the same to Prince Zuanmi." "I don't think so." Xian Zhen stood up and shook his head lightly. "Xian Yu and I have both checked. There's no trace of true yuan on the 13th prince's body. If he devoured Imperial Uncle Xianmia's body, there's no way he could hide it so perfectly." Hearing this, Xian Luo went silent and didn't say anything else. "You can leave for now. The 13th prince is extremely intelligent and won't be easy to deal with. We'll find another chance in the future," Xian Zhen said faintly. "I'll take my leave." Xian Luo bowed respectfully and left immediately. Seeing Xian Luo leave, Xian Zhen's expression turned gloomy. He didn't expect to fail again. This 13th brother of his was really difficult to deal with. In the distance, two carriages sped past under the night sky. Desolate beasts galloped, and their speed was so fast that it was hard to see with the naked eye. The night gradually passed, and the first rays of the morning sun shone on the earth, dispersing the coldness in the world. In the front carriage, a white-clothed figure sat quietly. His sword intent was completely retracted, and he looked like a mortal without any sharpness. In the back carriage, the two demon generals looked at the front carriage in shock. Last night, the crown prince was attacked, and the huge commotion could be felt from thousands of miles away. The 13th prince's sword was too shocking. After traveling for a day and a night, just as the sun set in the west, the third royal city appeared in front of them. The ancient and majestic primordial demon domain's largest city was magnificent and shocking. In front of the third royal city, the desolate beast stopped. Ning Chen got off the carriage and walked towards the third royal city. In the sky, White Tiger, who had been secretly following him, descended from the sky and landed beside Ning Chen. They walked together. "Greetings, 13th Prince." In front of the city gate, the Imperial Army soldiers were shocked when they saw the person who had arrived. They immediately bowed respectfully. "Get up," Ning Chen said as he led White Tiger into the city. In the 9th Underworld King's palace, Ning Chen walked in without any notice. "Master." In the palace, Ningchen bowed respectfully. You're back. In the sky, a familiar voice sounded. At the same time, demonic chi surged and an illusory figure walked out. He looked at the disciple in front of him and asked, "Are you injured?" "I'm fine," Ningchen replied. "It's just a small injury." Xianjuyo nodded and said, "Did you gain anything from your trip to Chihuang Island?" Ningchen replied, "I got what I wanted, but I didn't have the time to cultivate it." Xianjuyo did not ask any further and continued, "Your cultivation isn't that easy to recover. Don't put all your hopes on the Chihuang tribe's inheritance." "I understand." Ningchen nodded and said, "However, if I don't try and give up, I won't have any hope left. If this method doesn't work, I will look for another method. I won't give up just like that." "It's good that you're mentally prepared," Xianjuyo said seriously. "One more thing. Do you have any relationship with Go Huang of the sorcerer tribe?" "We've met a few times, but not really." Ningchen frowned and said, "Master, why do you ask?" Now that the primordial demon region is surrounded by enemies from all 5 sides, the war situation is tense. There are already voices of peace talks among the royal tribe. Back then, outside the Blood Moon Ancient War, Go Huang protected you. This matter is known to the world. If the royal tribe and the 5 royal tribes talk about peace, you'll be the best candidate to go to the sorcerer tribe, Xianjuyo said calmly. Ningchen heard this and his expression turned serious. He said, "Thank you for telling me, Master." Peace talks? The heavenly demonic royal tribe was thinking too much. The 5 royal tribes had already sent out their troops. If they accepted the peace talks now, they would be digging their own graves. When the heavenly demonic royal tribe recovered and Demon Emperor Kuan-Yi returned, it would be the end of the 5 royal tribes. "You're injured. Go back and rest first," Xianjuyo said. "I'll take my leave." Ningchen bowed respectfully and turned to leave. Outside Juyo King's mansion, White Tiger saw its master coming out and immediately went forward and growled. "Let's go back," Ningchen said before he strode towards the Crown Prince's mansion. 13th Crown Prince's mansion. Shiyu and Shiqing were anxiously waiting in the mansion. They would occasionally go to the front of the mansion to watch, waiting for His Highness to return. They already knew that His Highness had entered the city. His Highness had gone to see the 9 underworld demonic empress and should be back soon. Just as the 2 girls were feeling anxious, a figure in plain clothes appeared in front of the mansion and walked over step by step. "His Highness is back." Shiqing's eyes were sharp. She saw the familiar figure walking over from afar and immediately shouted. When Shiyu heard this, she quickly stepped forward, and her beautiful eyes were filled with excitement. In front of the Crown Prince's mansion, Ningchen walked over. Seeing the 2 people waiting in front of him, he smiled and said, "I'm back." "Greetings, Your Highness." Shiyu and Shiqing bowed excitedly. "No need to be so polite." Ningchen smiled and said, "Don't stand here. Let's go back." "Okay." Shiyu and Shiqing got up and suppressed the excitement in their hearts. They watched His Highness enter the mansion. Roar. White Tiger walked past the 2 and roared in a low voice. Then it swaggered into the mansion. Shiyu and Shiqing subconsciously took a step back. Only then did they notice White Tiger behind His Highness. Ningchen ignored White Tiger's provocation. He walked into the hall and sat down on the main seat. Many people must have known that he had returned. Today, the mansion would not be too quiet. In the 9th Prince's mansion, Xianke listened to the report of the black-clothed spy in front of him and nodded gently. "Understood. You may leave." "Yes." The spy accepted the order and disappeared. Xianke stood up and looked outside. A serious look flashed in his eyes. The 13th brother had finally returned. Now that Xianzhen had gone to the front line and Xianqing was grounded, it was a good opportunity for them to develop their forces. As a prince, no one would be indifferent to the position of the crown prince. He believed that as long as they defeated the 2 princes, the 3 demon emperors would have to reconsider the candidates to inherit the throne. These princes could not be crowned as crown prince just because their mother's bloodline was not pure. This was too unfair to them. At the same time, in the northern battlefield, the sorcerer tribe's army went south to put pressure on the sky demonic royal tribe. In front of the sorcerer tribe's army of more than 100,000, 12 women with different styles stood in the air. Their powerful auras spread out, attracting attention. 12 witch queens. In front of the sky demonic army, the sky demonic fifth prince Xian Kong looked at the 12 women in front of him with a serious expression. The 12 witch queens were all out. This was troublesome. Chapter 1145. In the cold night, the moon hung high in the sky. The incomplete moon shone with cold moonlight. People had their joys and sorrows, and the moon had its waxing and waning. A full moon was not common. An incomplete moon was the most common scene. Yuru's life was not perfect. Perhaps that was the norm. Under the cold moon, a white-clothed figure stood quietly in front of the main hall. Thousands of complicated and incomprehensible runes flickered around her. It was the Qi Huang secret technique that was once famous in the primordial demon realm. Even the royal family of the 100 races feared it. They worked together to exterminate the Qi Huang family, eliminating all future troubles. Today the Qi Huang secret technique reappeared. Endless runes filled the air, condensing from nothingness into reality. There were dragons, divine tigers, and even giant demons. There were thousands of changes. It was shocking. The shocking power was strange and magical. In the Crown Prince's residence, the fallen leaves were swept up. Spiritual qi surged and rushed towards the front of the hall. The fallen leaves and runes merged together. The giant dragon roared. A terrifying sound wave spread out, shaking heaven and earth. Around the Crown Prince's residence, the divine restriction lit up and blocked the sound wave. It did not alarm anyone. The might of the heavenly dragon breaks the city was rare in the world. It did not rely on the cultivator's own strength. Instead, it combined the power of all things to the greatest extent. With the runes as a guide, the divine power was shocking. The wisdom of the Qi Huang is really amazing. Ning Chen looked at the heavenly dragon formed by the fallen leaves and the spiritual qi of heaven and earth. He was impressed. The human race was inferior to the 100 races in terms of physique and lifespan. However, the human race's wisdom was not something the other races could compare to. Borrowing the power of heaven and earth to strengthen oneself. Such great wisdom was indeed shocking. Not far away, the white tiger lay on the stone steps board. It watched its master practice the Qi Huang secret technique. Even though it could not understand it, it could feel the terrifying power of the dragon. Your Highness is so powerful. Shi Qing sat beside the white tiger. Her beautiful eyes were filled with excitement as she shouted, "Roar!" White tiger growled in dissatisfaction at the woman's sudden movements. Big tiger, be quiet. Beside the white tiger, the small gourd raised its meaty hand and hit the white tiger. It was a little angry. Hearing that, the white tiger immediately shut up. It did not dare to make another sound. In the courtyard, the spiritual qi of heaven and earth surged more violently. The aura of the dragon kept rising. The rare scene in the world again after tens of thousands of years. Boom. At this moment, the runes around Ning Chen's body suddenly collapsed. The starlight scattered and disappeared between heaven and earth. The moment the incantation collapsed, the heavenly dragon formed by the fallen leaves quickly dispersed. The fallen leaves swirled in the air like rain. The uncontrollable power spread out rapidly. Not far away, the little gourd and Shi Qing's expressions changed. Fear filled their faces. Roar! At this moment of crisis, the white tiger let out a low roar and stood in front of the two of them without hesitation. Pung! The aftermath of the impact sent the white tiger flying, crashing into the fake mountain in the residence. Amidst the rumbling, the fake mountain collapsed. Pieces of huge rocks fell down, splashing up sand and dust into the air. In front of him, Ning Chen looked at the fallen leaves in the sky and frowned slightly. What a difficult power to control. He was already very careful, but he still lost control. Under the rubble, the white tiger crawled out. It shook off the dust on its body and walked back to the small calabash as if nothing had happened. Thank you, big tiger. Little gourd patted white tiger's head with a happy expression. Woo-woo. White tiger replied softly, indicating that it was fine. At the side, Shi Qing looked at the interaction between little gourd and white tiger and smiled with interest. There were always strange things happening around Her Highness. This was the first time she saw a tiger with wings, and an immortal medicine that could talk. In front of the palace, Ningchen pondered for a long time. He looked over and saw the white tiger and the small calabash staring at each other. He smiled and said, "Are you okay?" The small calabash flew up on its own calabash and landed on Ningchen's shoulder. It said in a tender voice, "Immortal Elder, was that an immortal technique you used just now?" "No." Ningchen shook his head gently and smiled. "This is a power created by the human race to fight against the 100 races. It's closer to formations and restrictions. It's fundamentally different from immortal techniques. Then is the immortal technique more powerful, or is it more powerful?" The small calabash asked curiously. "They both have their strengths and weaknesses." Ningchen smiled and said, "Immortal techniques require a huge amount of quintessential essence as the foundation to unleash their true power. The Qi Huang secret technique requires the understanding and application of the origin power of all things in the world. It's actually a method of borrowing power." "Oh, I don't understand," the small calabash said bluntly. "Heh." Ningchen chuckled and said, "These things are useless to you. You don't have to know so much. Go and play with the white tiger. Just don't leave the residence." "Okay." The small calabash nodded obediently and flew down on its calabash. "Your Highness." Shiqing stood up and bowed. Ningchen looked at the woman in front of him and said softly, "Shiqing, I won't stay in the residence for long. I might leave again soon. Have you and Shiyu thought about the arrangements for the future?" Shiqing looked confused. She didn't understand what the former meant. Ningchen narrowed his eyes. It seemed that Shiyu didn't tell Shiqing what he said earlier. "It's fine. It's getting late. You should go and rest." Ningchen collected his thoughts and smiled. "This servant will take her leave." Shiqing left with a puzzled expression. What did His Highness mean just now? In the backyard, Shiqing walked back to Shiyu's room. She stopped in front of the door and entered. In the room, Shiyu was sewing new clothes by the candlelight. When she saw her sister enter, she said, "It's so late. Why aren't you resting?" "I just came back from the front yard." Shiqing looked at the former and said softly, "Shiyu, just now His Highness said that he will leave soon and asked if we have thought about the arrangements for the future. What do you think His Highness meant?" Shiyu's hand trembled when she heard this. A fine needle pricked her finger, and a touch of red seeped out, dyeing the plain clothes in her hand red. "Nothing. His Highness is kind. Maybe he just asked casually. He asked me before. It's not a big deal, so I didn't tell you." Shiyu suppressed the waves in her heart and covered the wound on her finger, without leaving a trace. She said with a gentle expression, "It's getting late. Go and rest." "Oh." Shiqing was relieved. She turned and walked towards her room. The door closed. Shiyu put down the plain clothes in her hand. The blood-stained sleeves looked like a bloody rose embroidered on it. It was so beautiful that it was intoxicating. His Highness mentioned this again. Did he really want them to leave? She didn't know what His Highness was going to do, but she knew very well that His Highness' heart was not with the heavenly devil imperial family. His Highness wanted them to leave probably because he didn't want to implicate them. However, they really didn't want to leave. Shiyu looked at the plain clothes in front of her, and tears unconsciously appeared in her eyes. Perhaps they really didn't have much time left in the Crown Prince's residence. In the front hall, Ningchen was focused on deducing the Qi Huang clan's secret technique. He didn't have the energy to think about other things. A person's strength was limited. For a knowing destiny state cultivator, it wasn't easy to protect their family in the world. They couldn't be distracted by other people. The Qi Huang clan's secret technique was complicated and difficult to understand. It gathered the wisdom of the Qi Huang clan for hundreds of thousands of years, and formed its own path. It could be called a miracle. Ningchen studied it for several days, but still only understood half of it. He couldn't even use it skillfully, let alone master it. However, to be able to understand half of it in just a few days was already a terrifying thing. Even the peerless geniuses of the Qi Huang clan couldn't do it. Knowing destiny state cultivators were the best in the world. No one could be compared to them. Another night gradually passed. When the sun shone from the east, Ningchen woke up from his contemplation. He looked to the east, and a deep look flashed across his eyes. Time. What he needed most now was time. The Qihuang clan's secret technique wasn't easy to practice. If he couldn't master it, it was no different from not knowing it at all. A power that could go out of control at any time couldn't be used in a battle. Not to mention that his opponent wouldn't give him a chance, even if he could use it. Once the Qihuang clan's secret technique went out of control, it would be a disaster for him. In 100 years he had experienced countless battles, big and small. Luck was one of the reasons why he could live until today. However, the most important reason was that he never gambled his life on a power that he couldn't even control. In a battle, especially a battle between cultivators of the same level, the one who could use battle techniques more skillfully would have a greater chance of winning. Your Highness. Unknowingly, Shiyu came to the front of the hall and said softly, I made a set of clothes for you. Try it on and see if it fits. Ningchen looked over and saw the woman's bloodshot eyes. He asked, You didn't sleep well last night? Shiyu smiled and said, Your Highness's clothes are torn. I slept late last night and made a new set of clothes. Ningchen nodded slightly and didn't point it out. He wasn't a fool. He could tell from Shiyu's eyes that she didn't sleep last night. Try it on, Your Highness. Shiyu said softly. Okay. Ningchen took the clothes from the woman's hand and walked into the hall. He removed the torn old clothes. I'll serve you. Shiyu stepped forward and took the old clothes. She carefully helped the former put on the new clothes and tidied them up. Does it fit? Ningchen looked at the woman in front of him and smiled. Shiyu took a step back and looked at the clothes on the former's body. She nodded and said, It fits. Ningchen smiled and said, You've worked hard. This is what I should do. Shiyu said softly, Your Highness, I won't be with you in the future. You must take good care of yourself. Ningchen heard this and paused. The smile on his face disappeared. He said seriously, Have you thought about it? Yes. Shiyu nodded lightly and said, I'll take my family and leave the 3 imperial city. We'll find a secluded place to live in seclusion. Your Highness doesn't have to worry about us. Ningchen was silent. Shiyu's understanding made his heart ache the most. However, he didn't have a choice. In this dangerous primordial demon realm, he couldn't even guarantee his own safety, let alone take them with him. Leaving the Crown Prince's residence might be the only way to protect Shiyu and Shiqing. Shiyu, Your Highness wishes you and Shiqing that you'll be able to meet someone you cherish in the future and live a happy and healthy life, Ningchen said softly. Shiyu turned her head. Her tears flowed down uncontrollably. Chapter 1146. In the 3rd Imperial City, the sun was setting. Desolate beasts roared in front of the 13th Prince's residence. 2 carriages were parked in front of the residence. The sadness of parting was unbearable. Your Highness. Shiyu and Shiqing bowed in unison. Their eyes were filled with tears. They were reluctant to part, but at this moment, they all turned into drops of tears, silently sliding down their cheeks. Have a safe journey. Ningchen looked at the 2 of them with a warm smile on his face. Was he willing to part with them? Of course he was reluctant. Although he had not known them for long, he was not heartless. However, he had no choice in this heartless demonic world. Only by giving up this last bit of warmth would he be able to harden his heart and turn this world into chaos. The 2 girls boarded the carriage. The curtain fell and the desolate beasts roared as they moved forward. Inside the carriage, the cries could no longer be suppressed. The grief was unbearable. In front of the Crown Prince's residence, Ningchen stood quietly. He looked at the carriage that was leaving and did not say a word. People had feelings, but they had to be heartless. After standing there for a long time, the sun set in the west. The afterglow of the setting sun shone on his white clothes. The heartless person turned around and entered the residence. With a bang, the residence's door closed. From then on, the emotions of the demonic world were outside the door. Night fell. In the Crown Prince's residence, a dragon's roar shook the sky. The fallen leaves were swept up and gathered the spiritual energy of heaven and earth to form a 100-meter-long dragon. When the dragon appeared, Ning Chen's left hand was filled with incantations. In an instant, a tiger's roar could be heard. A gale gathered and formed a second mutated beast. When the dragon and tiger appeared, the shocking might shook the entire divine forbidden space. The laws of time and space were disrupted. It was difficult to withstand this shocking power. Ning Chen was multitasking and controlling the power of the dragon and tiger at the same time. Sweat kept dripping from his forehead. It was obvious that he had reached his limit. Ha! With a shout, the incantations appeared again. Breaking through the limit, the ground below Ning Chen rumbled, and the black tortoise appeared. Pooh! Suddenly Ning Chen spat out blood. The power of the three phases lost balance and collapsed. A terrifying explosion rang out, and Ning Chen's body was sent flying, crashing into the wall of the main hall. In the distance, the small gourd and the white tiger were anxious when they saw this scene. However, neither of them dared to go forward. Their master had warned them not to approach without permission. In front of the main hall, rubble crashed down. Ning Chen struggled to get up. He lifted his hand to wipe away the blood at the corner of his mouth. Ignoring the injuries on his body, he continued to forcefully cultivate the Qi Huang technique. He needed strength. No matter how good a plan was, it required the cooperation of a powerful force in order to be truly effective. It was not easy for him to reach this step, and he could not fail because of his own weakness. The dragon and tiger collided. The black tortoise roared. The three appeared together, shaking heaven and earth. The divergent yellow secret technique once again displayed its world-shocking might. Drink! Pushing himself to the limit, Ning Chen's surroundings were filled with blood mist. His hands drew the power of heaven and earth, and his three forms devoured the sky as he crashed into the hall in front of him. Boom! A terrifying explosion rang out as the imperial palace collapsed. Dust billowed and engulfed the entire imperial palace. Creak! The gate opened, and a plain-clothed figure walked out. She walked step by step towards the Three Sovereign Palace. The Three Sovereign Palace symbolized the supreme imperial authority of the Heavenly Devil clan. The three majestic palaces were located there, and had remained unbroken for tens of thousands of years. In front of the 9,000 stone steps, Ning Chen walked up to the highest point of the Celestial Devil imperial family. I, Ning Chen, request an audience with the two demon emperors. In front of the Three Sovereign Palace, Ning Chen stopped and bowed. As soon as he finished speaking, demon qi surged in front of the Seven Sovereign Palace and Eight Desolation Imperial Palace. Two illusory figures appeared. They looked at the young figure in front of them and asked, "Why do you request an audience?" There are wars everywhere in the demon region. As the crown prince of the imperial family, I hope to do my part. Ning Chen said in a deep voice. Back then, outside the Blood Moon ancient battlefield, when I was threatened by Emperor Shi, Emperor Go of the Sorcerer clan helped me. This kindness may be an opportunity for the Celestial Devil imperial family to negotiate with the Sorcerer clan. In front of the two imperial palaces, the two demon emperors quietly listened to Ning Chen's words. After a long while, Seven Sovereign said in a deep voice, "You want to negotiate with the Sorcerer clan on behalf of the Celestial Devil clan?" "That's right." Ning Chen nodded and said seriously, "The five imperial families have joined forces to invade the demon region. Although the demon soldiers are not afraid of any invasion, the five imperial families have joined forces and are aggressive. Facing them head-on is not a wise move. If the five imperial families can join forces, the Celestial Devil imperial family can divide their alliance. Tell me the details." In front of the Eight Desolation Demon Palace, the Eight Desolation Demon Emperor said calmly, "Yes." Ning Chen bowed respectfully and explained, "The five great imperial families have joined hands to attack the demon area. It seems that they are invincible. However, the five great imperial families are still fighting for themselves. Their alliance isn't a solid block. As long as we threaten and entice them, we can break their alliance from within. Then, the five great imperial families' plan to kill the demon area will be broken. Now that the five imperial families have the upper hand, do you think they will negotiate?" The Seven Sovereign Demon Emperor said coldly. "They won't," Ning Chen said directly. "But what if the situation changes?" When he spoke up to hear, Ning Chen's tone paused slightly. and his expression became serious as he continued. With the current combat strength of our clan, it is indeed difficult to suppress the 5 great imperial clans at the same time. However, it shouldn't be difficult to defeat one of the clans. So long as one of the clans is defeated, the other 4 clans will definitely be in danger, and it wouldn't be impossible to negotiate peace. The 7 sovereign demon emperors and the 8 desolation demon emperors exchanged glances with one another in front of the 3 sovereigns' palace and nodded. The 13th prince's words did make sense. In your opinion, which enemy do you think we should defeat first? The 8 desolation demon emperor asked. The scaled tribe. Ningchen raised his head and continued after seeing the reaction of the 2 demon emperors, or the stone tribe. Among the 5 imperial families, the shaman tribe is the most determined to send out their troops. The western sacred region is the strongest, followed by the eastern divine capital mountain. Only the stone tribe and the scaled tribe are not as strong as the other 3 imperial families. Even the time of sending out their troops is later than the other 3 imperial families. It's obvious that they are not as determined as we thought. It's relatively easy to defeat them. The 7 sovereign demon emperor fell silent in front of the 3 sovereigns' palace. The scaled tribe and the stone tribe. Time waits for no one. I hope the 2 demon emperors can make a decision soon. Ningchen bowed again and said in a deep voice, "At least, I hope the demon emperor can allow me to head to the battlefield in the north first, and buy some time for our clan." Granted, the 7 sovereign demon emperor said calmly. "Thank you, demon emperor." Ningchen bowed deeply and expressed his gratitude. The journey to the north is fraught with danger. You are severely injured. I'll send someone with you to protect you. The 7 sovereign demon emperor said again. Ningchen frowned slightly upon hearing the words, but his expression returned to normal in an instant. The protection was most likely an excuse. The 7 sovereign demon emperor's real intention was to keep an eye on him. "Thank you, demon emperor." Ningchen accepted the order and did not reject it. "You may leave now. The imperial edict will arrive at your residence on time tomorrow." The 8 desolation demon emperor said calmly. "I'll take my leave." Ningchen bowed, then turned around and left. A demonic aura surged in front of the 3 emperors' palace. The clones of the 2 demon emperors gradually dissipated and disappeared. Ningchen was walking alone on the streets of the royal city. In front of him was the 3rd prince's residence, which used to be bustling with people, but it was now deserted. Everyone knew that Xianqing was grounded by the 7 sovereign demon emperor himself. The major factions in the royal city had chosen to stay away from the 3rd prince's residence for the time being, as they did not want to offend the 2 demon emperors. Ningchen walked over and stopped when he saw the 3rd prince's residence. The 3rd prince's residence was surrounded by demonic aura. The barrier set up by the 7 sovereigns demon emperor had completely sealed off the 3rd prince's residence. No one could pass through it. Inside the 3rd prince's residence, Xianqing, who had been grounded for many days, sat in the hall. The sharpness in his body had gradually diminished. Xianqing frowned slightly when he sensed the gaze outside the hall. Was someone here? Xianqing stood up and walked out of the residence. The door opened with a creak. Outside the demonic aura barrier, Xianqing stood quietly. They finally met again after so many days. The demonic aura had sealed off all auras. They could only vaguely see each other's figure, but could not see or hear each other's words. In front of him, Ningchen wore a cold and heartless smile. The 3rd prince, who used to be so powerful, had fallen to such a state. It was truly a pity. However, it was not enough. The royal city was not chaotic enough. Or rather, the entire primordial demon realm was not chaotic enough. He wanted the entire demon realm to be in chaos. Not only the demon realm, but the other 5 royal families as well. Inside the demonic aura seal, Xianqing looked at the smile on Ningchen's face. He was puzzled. What did the 13th prince want to say to him? Outside the demonic aura, Ningchen stood for a moment before he turned and left. In the 9th prince's residence, Ningchen walked over and knocked on the door. Inside the residence, Xianke narrowed his eyes when he sensed the person's aura. The 13th prince? Invite the guest in. Xianke glanced at the guard outside the hall and said calmly, "Yes." The guard accepted the order and quickly walked out of the hall. Soon, Xianqing walked in front of the imperial hall. He looked at the man inside the imperial hall and said, "Ninth brother. 13th brother. Why are you here so late?" Xianqing stood up and looked at the person. There was not much enthusiasm on his face. He had worked with the 13th prince for a long time, and gradually realized that his 13th brother was not helping him. Instead, he was just using him as a tool to deal with the two princes. Ever since 13th prince entered the city, the imperial city had gradually become more and more chaotic. Of the three princes, one was dead, and the other two were injured. What was even more frightening was that no one had profited from this. This was also the reason why no one had ever suspected 13th brother of this matter. "Ninth brother, I have asked the two demon emperors to send me to the battlefield in the north. I will leave the royal city to you in the future," Ningchen said softly. Xianqing frowned. The 13th prince was going to the north? Why? Would it benefit him at all? "Brother, you don't have to think too much. I just want to do my best for the royal family. After all, I know that we are intimately interdependent." Ningchen sighed. "After fighting for so long, I am also tired. I don't know when I will return. Now, the first prince is far away in the western battlefield, and the third prince is grounded. After I leave, you will be the only one left in the royal city. I hope you can cherish this rare opportunity and don't miss it. That's all I have to say. I will take my leave first." Then Ningchen did not say anything else and turned to leave. Chapter 1147. The night was long. In the Crown Prince's residence, a figure in plain clothes looked to the east and waited quietly. In the sky, the light of dawn gradually drove away the darkness. The first ray of dawn shone on the earth. Above the void, demonic qi surged with shocking intensity. "It's here." Ning Chen's expression turned serious as he looked to the sky. "Finally, it's here. 13th Prince, listen up." In the void, a powerful aura walked out with a royal token in his hand. The demonic emperor orders the 13th Prince to head to the northern battlefield immediately and assist Prince Xiankong in fending off the army of the sorcerer race. "Yes." Ning Chen bowed respectfully. "Also." The messenger looked at the 13th Prince and said solemnly, "Your Highness, the two demonic emperors have ordered you to be in charge of the peace talks. This is the 7 luminaries demonic emperor's demonic emperor token. If you need it, you can speak to the 2 demonic emperors directly." "Yes, Your Highness." Ning Chen took the demonic emperor token and said, "Gandharv, come out." The messenger looked to the void in front of him and said. As soon as he finished speaking, the void twisted violently. An illusory figure appeared. She looked like a young girl with a voluptuous body. She floated in the air and was so beautiful that it was intoxicating. "From today onwards, you will be in charge of the 13th Prince's safety. Do you understand?" The messenger said seriously. "Yes." The young girl bowed and said, "Gandharv, the group of 8. When Ning Chen heard this, he couldn't help but be shocked. The demonic 8 from the ancient legends, they were actually still alive? He had heard that a long time ago, the 8 guardians of the heavenly demonic imperial family were extremely powerful and were named the Group of 8. However, in the ancient times, the Group of 8 fell one after another in the battle with the humans of outer sky. None of them survived. If the legend was true, how could the Group of 8 be explained? "Your Highness, time is of the essence. Let's depart as soon as possible." In the void, the messenger reminded. Then his figure melted into the void and disappeared. Ning Chen recovered his wits and looked into the distance with a serious expression. "Your Highness, please." The young girl Gandharv said calmly. Ning Chen nodded and walked out of the residence. Behind him, the collapsed imperial palace was in a mess. The gate was closed and everything in front of him was blocked. On the northbound road, 2 figures sped away, one in front and one behind. Their speed was unimaginably fast. Ning Chen did not hold back. The space laws revolved around him. So near, yet so far, so close, yet so far. In an instant he was 100 miles away. Behind him, the young girl followed with light steps. Her expression was calm, and she didn't seem to be struggling at all. At the front, Ning Chen's eyes narrowed slightly. He took a step forward and increased his speed. Under the morning sun, the two of them moved at an extremely fast speed, one after the other. They were like two shooting stars disappearing in the blink of an eye. Half a day later, in the Northern Territory, the two slowed down. Ning Chen stopped, looked at the girl behind him and asked, "How many of the heavenly demon 8 are left?" "Since they are called the octet, naturally there are 8 of them," Gandharv replied. "According to the ancient legends, the 8 tribes all died in battle. Is this true?" Ning Chen asked with a solemn expression. "Really?" Gandharv said calmly. "However, we are resurrected again." Ning Chen frowned. "Resurrection? How is that possible? In this world, no one knew better than him how difficult it was to bring someone back from the dead, or even impossible. Other than the creator god of the 7 ultimate heavens, he had never heard of anyone who could create life. "Your Highness, is there anything else you want to ask? If not, let's continue on our way," Gandharv said indifferently. "Yes, one last question." Ning Chen's lips curved slightly. He looked at the former's flat chest and smiled. "Are you a woman or a man?" According to the legends, there were no women in the heavenly demon 8. However, the person in front of him was indeed a man. Gandharv's eyes flashed with anger. She didn't answer. She took a step forward and rushed forward. Ning Chen sneered. Without further delay, he chased after her. In the Northern Territory, the flames of war continued. The witch tribe army went all the way south. The heavenly demon army couldn't stop them, and retreated 1,000 miles. The destruction brought by the flames of war could be seen everywhere. Countless people of the demon realm were displaced and homeless. In war, whether it was righteous or evil, it was always the people who suffered. It had never changed. In front of the witch tribe army, the 12 witch empresses stood in the air and pressed forward, taking down city after city. Emperor Go ordered them to advance as fast as they could and reach the hinterland of the primordial demon realm as soon as possible. 3,000 miles away, demonic clouds rolled. In front of the 80,000 heavenly demon army, the 5th prince of the heavenly demon realm, Xian Kong, stood between heaven and earth. He looked at the 12 witch empresses in the distance with a grave expression. The witch tribe army's combat strength was extraordinary. The 12 witch empresses' strength was beyond imagination. This war was getting more and more difficult. Just as the two armies were about to clash again, a beautiful figure appeared in front of the heavenly demon army. Powerful demonic chi surged, attracting everyone's attention. At the same time, a white-clothed figure walked out from the ground below. Her sharp sword chi could split heaven and earth. 13th Prince and Gandharv. Seeing the two, Xian Kong's expression turned serious. The 8 witch tribe had also moved. "Greetings, 5th Uncle Master." On the ground, Ning Chen looked at the figure in the sky and bowed respectfully. "No need to be so polite," Xian Kong said seriously. "Did the 2 demon emperors send you?" "Yes." Ning Chen nodded and said, "Why don't I send you out for this battle?" Xian Kong looked at the young man below. After a while he said, "The 12 witch empresses are all experts above the middle and advanced king realm. Are you confident?" "It's not easy to win, but it's not difficult to delay," Ning Chen answered. Hearing this, Xian Kong thought for a moment and nodded. "All right, you'll go first." "Thank you, 5th Uncle Master." Ning Chen expressed his gratitude. He took a step forward and flew forward. In the void, Gandharv frowned without leaving a trace and followed him. This 13th prince really knew how to ask for trouble. He had just arrived and he already wanted to fight. "Wait." In front of the heavenly demon army, Xian Kong looked at the 8 witch tribe in front of him and said. Gandharv stopped and looked back at the 5th prince. She said calmly, "What orders do you have, Prince? How many of the 8 have awakened?" Xian Kong asked in a deep voice. "Only me at the moment," Gandharv said calmly. Without saying anything more, she turned and chased after him. On the battlefield between the two armies, the heavenly demon crown prince asked to fight. His sword aura pierced through the sky, and the sword light rose into the sky, crisscrossing and dazzling. In front of the witch tribe army, The 12 witch empresses stopped and looked at the young figure on the ground. Their eyes flashed with surprise. Such powerful sword aura. This person should be the 13th prince of the heavenly demon royal family. There were 2 sword experts in the heavenly demon royal family. One of them was the 4th prince, the number 1 sword expert in the world, Xian Qi. They were far away in the southeast battlefield and couldn't be here. The other one was the disciple of the 9 underworld demon emperor, the 13th prince of the heavenly demon royal family. Let me handle this battle. A green-clothed woman walked out of the 12 witch empresses and said softly, "Be careful." Not far away, another witch empress reminded, "The 13th prince of the heavenly demon royal family doesn't have a high cultivation, but his attainment in sword is rare. Don't underestimate him." "I understand." The green-clothed witch empress nodded and rushed to the front of the battlefield. On the battlefield, Ningchen extended his hand and grasped his sword. Sword light crisscrossed and gathered. Fei Yu witch empress expression turned serious. Her delicate hand grasped the air, and a green long silk appeared. It was 10 meters long and soft like a snake. In an instant, Ningchen brandished his sword. Tens of thousands of swords lined up and rushed at the witch empress. Fei Yu witch empress waved the long silk, and the green light flourished. A giant whirlpool appeared and blocked the tens of thousands of swords. The sword aura and the long silk clashed. It was a clash of toughness and softness. The tens of thousands of swords entered the whirlpool and disappeared without a trace. In the sky, Gonlerv saw the situation. Her eyes flashed with a trace of seriousness. This was troublesome. This witch empress had the ability to restrain the 13th prince. In front of the heavenly demon army, Prince Xiankong also saw the unfavorable situation. His expression turned serious. The 12 witch empresses each had their own strengths, which was the most difficult part. No matter who went out to fight, the 12 witch empresses could basically find a way to restrain them. While the two were thinking, the sword light flashed again in the battlefield. Ningchen took a step and leaped, rushing at the woman in front of him. Fei Yu witch empress narrowed her eyes and raised her hand to guide the energy. Spirit energy gathered around her, and a forceful palm broke through the air. Ningchen brandished his sword to block the former's palm force. With a rumble, he retreated 300 meters. 300 meters away, Ningchen landed on the ground. He took a step and turned back. His sword broke through the air and gained the initiative by striking first. The sword aura was boundless and unstoppable. Fei Yu witch empress was as still as a mountain. She waved the long silk and used softness to overcome toughness, dissipating the sword aura. Suddenly, Fei Yu witch empress's expression changed. Her figure flashed and retreated 300 meters away. In the long silk, 9 streaks of dim light followed her like shadows and chased after her rapidly. That is. In front of the witch army, the 11 witch empresses looked grave. The 9 underworld devil emperors profound solution 9 transformations? The profound solution 9 underworld devil emperor appeared with boundless murderous intent. Fei Yu witch empress flashed and dodged the streaks of murderous dim light. Facing the unpredictable profound solution 9 transformations, the soft silk lost its ability to restrain it. Its power was greatly reduced. On the ground, Ningchen stepped forward and dashed out again. The sword aura of the water and moon reversal rose in his hand and broke through the sky. Thousands of feet of raging waves split the sky and earth. A huge crack appeared in the sky above the battlefield, shocking everyone. The sword aura broke through the air and arrived. Fei Yu witch empress's expression changed. She raised her cultivation technique to the limit. The long silk coiled around her body and blocked in front of her. With a rumble, the world shook. The sword aura shook the long silk, and the sword aura quickly dissipated. At the same time, the 9 streaks of dim light appeared in the sky again. The 9 transformations condensed into a sharp sword and slashed at the woman in front of her. With a swish, the 9 transformations broke the long silk. The sword aura penetrated her body and brought out a fountain of blood. At the critical moment, a white-robed figure dashed out in front of the witch army and arrived at the battlefield in an instant. A palm that shook the world broke through the air and the sea. Its power was even greater than Fei Yu witch empress's. It slapped at Ji Ming and stopped the battle between the two. At this moment, Gandharv's figure disappeared from the sky and entered the battlefield. She also slapped at the white-robed witch empress's palm force. Chapter 1148. In the northern battlefield of the primeval demon region, Knowing Destiny was fighting against the witch empress. The battle was white-hot, with thousands of aftershocks. When the sword radiance and the long silk collided, the xianjie broke through the air. The sword qi penetrated the body, bringing out a waterfall of blood. At this critical moment, a witch empress in white jumped into the battle in front of the wizard tribe army. Her vast palm power set off waves. In the sky, Gandharv saw this. She stepped lightly and turned her palm to draw in the devil vitality. Her palm shocked the sky and met the witch empress. When the kings fought, the sky sank and the earth fell. The devil palm shook the waves, and the undercurrent shook violently, forcing the two to retreat. The witch empress in white looked at the girl in front of her and frowned. What a powerful devil general. Who was she? Why hadn't she appeared before? Just as the two kings were fighting, a white-clothed figure rushed to the witch empress. Her sword was sharp, and her every move was deadly. The witch empress recovered from the shock. Her shoulder was hit by the sword. She drew in the vital energy with her slender hand. Long green silk spread out and wrapped around the former. Ningchen didn't show any fear. He clenched his left hand, and the Xianjie 9 transformation sword came. The two swords flowed together and met the attack. The sharp sword and the soft silk clashed again. The long silk changed shape and wrapped around the sharp sword, blocking the attack. At the same time, several other long silks spread out and wrapped around Knowing Destiny. Not good. The battle changed so fast that no one could react. Outside the battle, Gandharv and Prince Xuankong's expressions changed. They didn't dare to delay and immediately rushed to the front. The moment they moved, the 4 witch empresses in front of the wizard tribe army rushed out at the same time to stop the celestial demon prince. Prince Xuankong made a move. The sky and earth shook and the void collapsed. In front of him, the 4 witch empresses gathered their vital energy and combined water, fire, wind, and thunder to block the devil might. The earth shook violently and the aftershock roared. The sky and earth shook violently, and thousands of miles sank. Not far away, the witch empress in white also blocked Gandharv. In the blink of an eye, several exchanges were made, and the rumbling sound resounded through the battlefield. The two kings were blocked, and the battle below was fierce. The long silk trapped Knowing Destiny, and the battle was in danger. Her opponent was restrained, and the witch empress could not help but heave a sigh of relief. She circulated her true essence and suppressed the injuries on her body. This 13th prince of the celestial devil royal family was not easy to deal with. Whether it was his fighting experience or his attainments in swordsmanship, they were both rare in the world. If it were not for the fact that her cultivation was much higher than his, it would have been very difficult for her to win this battle. In the sky, seeing that the 13th prince was in danger, Gandharv's face sank. She did not dare to hesitate anymore. With a light shout, the red mist around her spread. On the battlefield, when the 6 witch empresses saw the situation, their expressions turned grave. They did not dare to be careless, and they raised their energy to block the red mist. However, a shocking scene happened. The red mist emitted from Gandharv's body quickly eroded the protective Zhen Yuan of the 6 witch queens. It was unstoppable. In the battle below, the injured Pure Wing witch empress was not in a bad spot. Wisps of red mist entered her body, and she immediately staggered. She vomited a mouthful of blood. The red mist is poisonous. Everyone be careful. In the sky, the white-clothed witch queen flipped her palm and shook away the red mist that was ceaselessly suffusing the surroundings as she reminded in a solemn voice. She had the appearance of a young girl and was surrounded by red mist. Could this person's identity be Gandharv of the 8? The white-clothed witch queen's expression turned grave. The 8 had died in the war of the ancient times. Why would they appear here? Gandharv, thank you very much. In the battle below, the moment Pure Wing witch empress body was injured, a calm voice was heard. Within the long silk that was wrapped in layers of silk, sword aura broke through the air and tore apart the bindings around her body. The white-clothed figure walked out and swept past, instantly arriving in front of Pure Wing witch empress. The ice-cold sword light broke through Pure Wing Witch Empress protective Jin Yuan, and pierced into her shoulder. The gushing blood dyed the sword blade red, and it was bleak and dazzling. Being poisoned first, Pure Wing Witch Empress' body was restrained, and her reaction was already slower. The sword blade pierced through her body, and she was severely injured. Pure Wing. The white-clothed Witch Empress' expression changed slightly. However, she was in the red mist poison formation, and could not split herself. It was too late for her to provide support. Not far away, Prince Xiankong's eyes flashed with a solemn look. He was holding back 4 Witch Empresses by himself, not giving them a chance to provide support. This was the best opportunity. If he could get rid of a Witch Empress here, the Heaven Devil Army's morale would be greatly boosted. In the battle below, a shocking sword strike caused Pure Wing Witch Empress to retreat continuously. The sword had pierced through her left shoulder, and blood kept flowing out. With her severely injured body, it was hard for her to raise her body. She grabbed the sword blade and forcefully stopped herself from retreating. Ning Chun snorted coldly. He turned the sword blade in his hand, and blood gushed out, dyeing it red again. Pure Wing Witch Empress grunted, and blood dripped from her slender hand. She raised her left hand with great difficulty, and slapped it toward Ning Chun. Ning Chun swung his sword to meet the attack. Demonic aura surged on his mystic release, and he clashed with the power of a king's palm. Ugh! Demonic aura consumed her body, and blood flowed out of her mouth. She flew 1,000 feet away, and crashed onto the ground. Cough cough! Pure Wing Witch Empress staggered and stood up amidst the dust. She coughed violently, and her body was stained with blood. She looked exceptionally miserable. In front of the witch race's army, the 6 Witch Empresses looked at the battle with solemn eyes. Baiji had already made a move, but they were still at a disadvantage. The Heaven Devil Imperial family was indeed not easy to deal with. The Heaven Devil 13th Crown Prince has impressed us. Among the 6 Witch Empresses, a woman in a black dress spoke indifferently. The disciple of the 9 Underworld's Devil Emperor is naturally not weak. Beside her, the red-clothed Witch Empress answered calmly. Pure Wing is injured. She might not be able to last much longer. Hongxue, make your move, the black-clothed Witch Empress said. All right. The red-clothed Witch Empress nodded. She did not delay any longer, and with a flash she vanished. In the battle at the front, sword light tore through the dust and swept over again. The cold killing intent was unusually bone-chilling. With the killing intent before her, Pure Wing Witch Empress' eyes flashed with determination. She opened her hands, and her vital essence flowed in reverse. Immediately, a bloody mist gushed out, and violent vital essence swept out. A desperate move? Is there a need for that? Ning Chen's lips curled up slightly as he transmitted a message. He sped up and arrived before the Witch Empress in the blink of an eye. Clang! The sword tore through the air, and the sound of weapons clashing rang out. A red-clothed figure appeared before Pure Wing Witch Empress, and the red sword in her hand blocked the Moon Demon Divine artifact. The 13th Prince's sword is astonishing. Our witch race has lost this round, the red-clothed Witch Empress said. The Red Snow Witch Empress said and swung her sword. Red snowflakes permeated the air, forcibly breaking the battle. Just as she finished speaking, the red-clothed Witch Empress quickly retreated from the battlefield with the heavily injured Pure Wing Witch Empress. In the battlefield, Ning Chun waved his sword to disperse the red snowflakes. He looked at the 2 retreating figures with a serious expression, but he did not chase after them. He had achieved his objective, and there was no need for him to put himself in danger. Retreat. Ning Chun spoke, and with a step, he turned around and swept towards the Heaven Devil army behind him. In the air, Gandharv heard the order, and did not continue fighting. She flipped her palm and repelled the white-clothed Witch Empress in front of her before retreating to the battlefield. In the final battle, Xiankong fought 4 Witch Empresses alone. After the other 2 battles ended, Xiankong did not continue fighting. With a shout, he repelled 4 Witch Empresses with a single punch, and he turned to leave. The 4 Witch Empresses looked at the departing figure with abnormally grave expressions. This Heaven Devil Imperial family's 5th prince was too powerful, and they could not see his limits. The 2 armies stopped fighting, and the witch race was temporarily defeated. Since the war started, The Heaven Devil Imperial family had won for the first time. The two armies retreated and returned to their respective camps. In the Witch Race's camp, the red-clothed Witch Empress returned with the heavily injured Pure Wing Witch Empress. She did not dare to delay, and she activated all her techniques. Her true origin surged and entered the Witch Empress body continuously. The red mist's poison corroded the bones, and the true origin in Pure Wing Witch Empress body was abnormally chaotic. The red-clothed Witch Empress expression became more and more grave. This was troublesome. Outside the camp, Witch Empress Baiji and the other 10 Witch Empresses walked in and asked, "How's Pure Wing?" "Her external injuries are fine, and her organs are not damaged. However, the red mist's poison is intense, and it's very difficult to remove," the red-clothed Witch Empress said in a low voice. Gandharv of the Heaven Devil 8. Upon hearing that, Witch Empress Baiji's expression became abnormally cold. According to ancient legends, Gandharv was adept at using incense poison. Those who were tainted by it would definitely die. "We are powerless against this poison. We can only send Pure Wing back to the witch race and ask Emperor Go to help," the red-clothed Witch Empress said seriously. Witch Empress Baiji nodded. She looked at the heavily injured and unconscious Pure Wing Witch Empress and said, "I'll go. I'll leave this place to you guys temporarily." "Don't worry." The red-clothed Witch Empress nodded slightly. She helped Pure Wing Witch Empress up and handed her over. "With us here, nothing will happen here." Witch Empress Baiji took Pure Wing Witch Empress and did not delay any longer. Her figure flashed as she rushed towards the north. In the Heavenly Devil camp, Ning Chun stood in front of the camp and looked towards the north. After a long time he said, "Is your poison easy to remove?" "There's no way to remove it," Gandharv said coldly. Upon hearing that, Ning Chun shook his head regretfully and said, "What a pity." Gandharv frowned. She did not understand what he meant. Ning Chun smiled and did not explain. What he meant by "what a pity" was that he knew what the 12 Witch Empresses would do next, but he could not say or do anything. It was really boring. Pure Wing Witch Empress was injured, and the only way to survive was to send her back to the witch race. If he set up an ambush at this time, he would definitely gain a lot. After standing there for a moment, Ning Chun collected his thoughts and turned to walk towards the camp behind him. Outside the camp, Prince Xiankong looked at the young figure walking towards him. He smiled and said, 13, you've worked hard in today's battle. 5th Martial Uncle, you're too polite. This is what 13 should do. Ning Chun said respectfully. I've long heard that 9 Underworlds has a disciple with extraordinary cultivation in the sword. Today, I see that the rumors are true. Prince Xiankong smiled and said, in time your achievements in the sword will not be below your 4th Martial Uncle's. 5th Martial Uncle, you flatter me, Ning Chun said softly. 4th Martial Uncle is the best swordsman in the world. 13 is still far from that. Just as the battle in the north came to a temporary stop, the Heavenly Devil army led by Xianqi closed in on the southeast of the primordial demon region, forcing the Stone Race army to retreat. 5 days later, the two armies faced each other again. Xianqi looked at the 4th Divine Protector who appeared in front of the Stone Race army, with a serious expression. This person was different from the other 3 Divine Protectors of the Stone Race. If he guessed correctly, the person in front of him was the leader of the 6 Divine Protectors of the Stone Race. The battle was about to begin. Suddenly, dark clouds gathered in the sky. Amidst the lightning and thunder, a dragon-shaped figure vaguely appeared. It was him. Xianqi looked up and narrowed his eyes. The 8th, the dragon. Chapter 1149. In the southeastern territory of the primordial demon region, the two armies faced each other. The first Saint Protector of the Stone Race appeared first. His powerful cultivation attracted everyone's attention. In front of the Sky Demon army, the 4th Prince Xianqi's expression turned serious. The ancient sword in his hand hummed as he kept asking to fight. Don't rush. It'll be your turn soon, Xianqi said calmly. He looked forward as his sword intent rose. The battle was about to begin. Just then, the clouds in the sky changed. Thunder and lightning rumbled in the southeastern territory. A terrifying might spread. The sky and earth rumbled, shocking everyone. A dragon-shaped figure appeared in the thunderclouds. It had a pair of wings on its back. Its huge body was hundreds of feet long, shocking the world. Xianqi looked up at the powerful being in the sky. His eyes narrowed. Dragon from the group of 8. He had come too. It seemed that the 2 demon emperors wanted to defeat the Stone Race army quickly. In front of the Stone Race army, the first Saint Protector Yin Xiao looked at the clouds in the sky and frowned. Group of 8? Strange. Didn't the group of 8 all die in the ancient times? Why would Dragon from the group of 8 appear here? Dragon was a top fighter of the Sky Demon race. He was extremely powerful. Even in the group of 8, he was one of the top fighters. Dragon, have Garuda and the others woken up? Xianqi asked calmly in front of the Sky Demon army. They haven't woken up yet. Long Zhong answered from the clouds where thunder roared. Yes. Xianqi nodded and didn't ask anymore. It was a pity that Garuda and Azura hadn't woken up yet. Leave Yin Xiao to me. The rest will be yours. Today we'll defeat the Stone Race army completely. Xianqi calmed himself down and looked forward coldly. Okay. Dragon answered in the sky. He flapped his wings and flew toward the Stone Race army. In front of the Stone Race army, Yin Xiao clenched his right hand. Suddenly, a strange light shone. A stone halberd appeared. It was mottled with blood, ancient and powerful. The Stone Race's divine weapon, the sky-breaking halberd, reappeared after hundreds of years. Yin Xiao spun the halberd. Instantly, the wind howled and the ground shook. The stone halberd broke the sky and slashed toward the group of 8. Your opponent is me. As he spoke, a purple demonic shadow appeared in front of Yin Xiao. An ancient sword appeared, burning the world. Seeing this, Yin Xiao turned the stone halberd around and faced the incoming person. The divine sword and the stone halberd collided. Wind and fire clashed. In an instant, a deafening sound of collision rang out. Between the two of them, the power of the king's realm expanded violently and spread out in all directions. The world's #1 sword and the Stone Clan's #1 Saint Protector were exchanging blows for the first time. Sword chi and halberd light swept out in all directions. In close combat, danger was everywhere. Both of them possessed the ability to stand on the top. Their moves were majestic and unrestrained, destroying mountains and splitting peaks in the blink of an eye. This was an incomparable battle that shook the heavens and the earth. Around the two of them, the earth was constantly collapsing. In front of the army of 10,000, no one dared to take half a step closer. The world's #1 sword is indeed worthy of its reputation. Yin Xiao said, looking at the 4th heavenly demon prince in front of him. The first saint protector of the Stone Clan is no ordinary person. Xuanqi steadied himself. His sword turned, and the sky-burning flame rushed into the sky. Just as the 2 kings were fighting, thunder rumbled in the 9 heavens. The 8 dragons flew toward the Stone Clan's army. Their terrifying kings might spread out, and the atmosphere of the entire battlefield became oppressive. In front of the Stone Clan's army, the 2 Stone Clan's Saint Protectors saw this and their expressions darkened. They stepped forward and jumped into the clouds. In the next moment, the violent fluctuations of the battle resounded through the 9 heavens. The 2 Kings' Realm Saint Protectors worked together to fight the Dragon Clan. Their heavy punches and fierce palms could topple mountains and overturn seas. Roar! The dragon roared in the 9 heavens. The 8 dragons showed their unparalleled power. The dragon claw slammed down, and the space within 10,000 miles collapsed. The dragon might attacked. The 2 Kings' Realm Saint Protectors worked together to block the attack. They shook violently, and cracks spread out around them. They couldn't bear the destructive power. Ugh! With a muffled groan, the 2 fell straight from the sky and crashed onto the ground with a thud. The sudden change shocked the 100,000 Stone Clan's army. No one expected the 2 Saint Protectors to be defeated so quickly. Boom! Above the 9 heavens, lightning tore through the sky and crashed onto the ground, swallowing the 2 Kings' Realm Saint Protectors. The King's Realm Saint Protectors were killed. This shocking scene was beyond everyone's imagination. It also completely destroyed the defense line in the hearts of the Stone Clan's army. Kill! In the middle of the 2 armies, Xianqi's eyes narrowed. He forced the opponent in front of him back with a sword and ordered directly, Under his order, the sky demon army behind him immediately moved out. The demonic chi that covered the sky made people feel fear deep in their hearts. In the battle, Yin Xiao looked back and his expression changed slightly. Not good. Not daring to continue fighting, Yin Xiao took a step forward and flashed backwards. Dragon. Xianqi said in a low voice. Stop him. The dragon clan nodded. Dragon claws reached out from the clouds and grabbed at the stone clan's first saint protector. Go away. Yin Zhao's expression darkened. The sky-breaking divine halberd met the dragon might head-on with a boom. Boom. At this moment, the wind and clouds in the 9 heavens changed. Countless bolts of lightning tore through the sky and struck the stone clan's first saint protector below. Yin Zhao's expression darkened. The divine halberd spun rapidly and protected his body. Rumbling thunder and lightning engulfed the battlefield. The ground in all directions collapsed and sank down 100 zhang. Today no one will be able to leave. Xianqi walked into the battle step by step and said indifferently, the best sword in the world actually needs to join hands with others. Yin Xiao said with a mocking expression, Dragon is only responsible for not letting you escape. Why would I need to join hands with others to deal with you? Xianqi replied calmly. The sword intent around him rose again. This time, it was even stronger than before. The battle between the two began again. At this moment, the two armies officially clashed. The two armies collided like a flood of molten iron, and the world changed color. Xianqi glanced at the two armies and immediately withdrew his mind. The war had begun. With the dragon clan overseeing it, there would be no more accidents. Now what he needed to do was to completely destroy the Stone Clan's first saint protector. Ha! With a long shout, sword intent kept rising around Xianqi. The unparalleled ability caused the wind and clouds in the 9 heavens to resonate. The wind and clouds turned into swords and descended from the sky. Yin Xiao focused. He felt the change in the aura around the celestial demon prince in front of him. He did not dare to be careless. His left hand slashed the tip of the halberd. Blood splashed and dyed the stone halberd red. The man and the halberd breathed together as if they had become one. Yin Zhao's skin gradually petrified. It was like an indestructible armor attached to his body. Idiot. Xianqi snorted coldly. His sword moved and his body moved. With a slash, the sword of wind and cloud broke through the air and slashed toward the Stone Clan's first saint protector. Yin Xiao waved his halberd to block the divine sword. The sword and halberd clashed again. After devouring the king's blood, the divine halberd's ferocity was even more shocking. It actually showed signs of suppressing the burning heart sword. The moment the divine weapons clashed, the sword of wind and cloud fell. Clanging sounds kept coming out. Yin Zhao's petrified skin forcibly blocked the sword chi. He was not injured at all. The best sword in the world, is this all you can do? Yin Xiao mocked coldly. When he got close, his heavy fist condensed into essence and blasted toward Yin Zhao's heart. You can't measure my ability. Xianqi formed a sword with his fingers and blocked the fist energy with a boom. He stepped forward again, and sword chi swept out like a storm, swallowing the person in front of him. Useless move. Yin Xiao shouted. Strange light rose around him. His petrified skin blocked the thousands of swords. The endless clashing sounds shook the world. In the battle, Xianqi narrowed his eyes and listened carefully to the sound of each sword hitting Yin Zhao's body. Found it. There were thousands of sword sounds, each different. Suddenly, Xianqi's eyes shone brightly. He stepped forward and his body advanced again. One sword was so graceful that it tore open the sky. In an instant, the divine sword pierced through the air and pierced toward Yin Zhao's chest. Clang. The ear-piercing clashing sounds came out. The unbreakable sword and the indestructible shield clashed. In a shocking scene, the demon sword burning heart broke through the stone skin and pierced into Yin Zhao's chest. Ugh! With a muffled groan, Yin Xiao retreated several steps. Blood kept flowing from his chest. His eyes were filled with disbelief. How could it be? How did he find the flaw? In the battle, 2 saint protectors had died and Yin Xiao was severely injured. The Stone Clan was completely in danger. Behind them, the 2 armies were fighting. Blood dyed the sky red. Figures fell from the sky one after another and crashed onto the ground. The 8 troop dragons attacked. Their sharp claws pierced through the sky and blood dyed thousands of miles. It was an irreversible defeat. In the blink of an eye, half of the Stone Clan's army of 100,000 had been lost. It was extremely tragic. At the same time, in the north of the primitive demon area, in the heavenly demon camp, Ning Chen sat quietly in his tent. His eyes looked to the south. A beam of light flashed through. He wondered how the situation was over there. The suggestion he gave to the 2 demon emperors was not nonsense. Firstly, it was for the next plan. Secondly, it was to test the 2 demon emperors. The Stone Clan and the Scale Clan were ranked the lowest among the 5 royal families. They were also the easiest to deal with. If the heavenly demon royal family wanted to have the right to speak in the next negotiation, they had to establish their power. Therefore, defeating a royal family was something they had to do. He purposely did not mention the Scale Clan or the Stone Clan. Instead, he mentioned these 2 clans so that the 2 demon emperors could choose for themselves. Judging from the current situation, Xian Qi, the best swordsman in the world, was guarding the southeast. The Stone Clan could not do anything. On the other hand, the 2 armies were in a stalemate in the south. The situation was more tense. Considering only these 2 battlefields, defeating the Scale Clan was undoubtedly the better choice. In this way, the heavenly demon royal family had the complete advantage in the south and southeast. In addition, the number 1 palm master in the world was guarding the east. 3 out of the 5 battlefields were in danger. However, he would not be surprised if the 2 demon emperors gave up on the Scale Clan. From the beginning to the end, he had never believed in this race. If the 2 demon emperors made this choice, it would further confirm his guess. Outside the tent, Gandharv of the 8 tribes, who looked like a young girl, was guarding there. She was ordered to protect the 13th prince and had not left for a moment. There was no sound in the silent tent. It was as if no one was inside. However, Gandharv knew that the 13th prince was inside and had never left. When the sun was about to set, a figure in plain clothes stepped out of the tent. She looked into the distance and narrowed her eyes. Calculating the time, the result should be out. What would the 2 demon emperors of the heavenly demon ancestral land choose? Besides, how many of the 8 tribes were still alive? With Gandharv's strength, how would she rank among them? Chapter 1150. In the southeastern battlefield of the primordial demon region, the Stone Tribe was defeated. The 8 tribes' dragons attacked, and the 2 saint protectors of the Stone Tribe were defeated. The most important battle was between Xian Qi and Yin Xiao. The 2 peerless kings clashed fiercely. After 100 moves, the victor was decided. The demon sword that pierced through his chest burned his body. The indestructible protection was broken, and the first saint protector of the Stone Tribe was heavily injured. Impossible. Yin Xiao retreated several steps, his eyes filled with disbelief. How did he find it? The sword's sound is different from the others. You've lost this battle. Xian Qi pulled out his sword, condensed yuan in his left palm, and slammed it into Yin Xiao's chest. Ugh! Blood splattered everywhere, dyeing the sky red. Yin Xiao flew hundreds of zhang away, crashing into the ground. Xian Qi's figure slowly descended from the sky. The demon sword in his hand didn't stop because of the outcome. Against such an opponent, he would not show mercy. This was also a form of disrespect to the opponent in front of him. The best ending for a defeated general was to be buried on the battlefield. Xian Qi raised the demon sword in his hand. Demonic qi surged, and the life-reaping sword slashed down mercilessly. Impudent. At this moment, a terrifying and shocking voice came from the sky. An incomparably shocking pressure spread from the distance. The entire battlefield changed color. This is? Xian Qi and Dragon were both shocked. They looked into the distance, their faces filled with shock. Stone Emperor. The sudden change caused the air pressure on the battlefield to drop rapidly. Everyone's movements became incomparably difficult. It was as if the space of the entire world had frozen. Stone Emperor, an emperor who stood at the pinnacle of the world, descended majestically. The sky changed color, and dark clouds covered the sky. The rumbling sound reverberated through the entire southeastern territory. The Emperor's Tao was about to appear. Boom! A palm from beyond the sky arrived. Its power was earth-shattering. It was unparalleled. Below, Qianqi's expression froze. His figure flashed, and he instantly appeared 1,000 zhang away, dodging the Emperor's palm. Above the sky, the Emperor's figure slowly descended. Multicolored light spread out from his body, dazzling. He was an existence that surpassed the world. As the Stone Emperor descended into the world, a general from the Stone Tribe's army rushed down and carried the heavily injured First Saint Protector away. The Stone Emperor stood alone in front of the army of 10,000 soldiers. His peerlessly powerful imperial might spread out, and those who were slightly weaker immediately exploded and died. Heavenly Demon 8, #1 swordsman in the world. Come, let this emperor witness your abilities, the Stone Emperor said calmly as he looked at the two people before him. Emperor of the Stone Clan, this is the Devil region. You have overstepped your boundaries. Qianqi regained his composure and responded. He didn't show any fear because of the arrival of the sovereign from the Stone Tribe. In this world, there is no place that I cannot go. Are you ready? This emperor is about to officially begin. As soon as he finished speaking, Emperor Stone slowly raised his right hand. In an instant, a strange light shone brightly. Clouds rose up in the sky, and for the first time, an Emperor Stone cultivator appeared. Dragons, stand down. Facing such a strong enemy, Mysterious Qi said calmly. The demon sword in his hand was filled with demon flames. The sword of Burning Heart was fully released. The flame of Burning Heart was ignited by the wind, the clouds, and everything in the world. The Stone Emperor looked at the demon flames around him. His expression didn't change. The strange light around him became more and more dazzling, suppressing the flame of Burning Heart. When the demon flames and the imperial might clashed, Mysterious Qi moved at an extremely fast speed. It was difficult to see with the naked eye. His will moved, and his sword moved. The famous ancient sword once again had the power to move the world. Boom! The demon sword shook the imperial might. 3 inches in front of the Stone Emperor, the demon sword was blocked. It couldn't move even half a step forward. On the demon sword, the flame of Burning Heart surged violently attacking the Emperor's protective vital energy. However, the imperial might couldn't be resisted. The demon sword couldn't move half an inch. Those who haven't become emperors are all ants. Your sword can only be defeated and killed. The Stone Emperor clenched his right hand, and his imperial might shook. In front of him, Mysterious Qi was attacked and was immediately sent flying. 100 feet away, Mysterious Qi stopped. The hand holding the sword was bleeding, and the demon sword was dyed red. Emperor stones are indeed very strong. Mysterious Qi's eyes were filled with determination. However, my sword can cut through all obstacles. It is the same for Emperor stones. As he spoke, Mysterious Qi held the sword in front of him. His left hand slashed the blade, and blood flowed out, dyeing the demon sword red. Heavenly Demon 7 Transformations, Royal Sky Dome. With a shout, the demonic Qi around Mysterious Qi surged. Demonic Qi soared into the sky. His cultivation was at the peak of the King Realm, and his terrifying demonic might shook the world. When pushed to the limit, a heavenly demon appeared. Its 70,000 feet tall body stood between heaven and earth. Terrifying demonic might shook the world, and gods cried and ghosts howled. Oh, the Stone Emperor was surprised. Now there was something to see. This fourth heavenly demon prince's strength was infinitely close to Xianjiu's. Again, facing the imperial might, Mysterious Qi's eyes were filled with endless battle intent. He took a step forward, and his figure instantly disappeared. The demon sword pierced through the sky, and flames rose again. Between heaven and earth, black sword light filled the air. It was beyond the pinnacle of the sword. The Stone Emperor's eyes narrowed. He flipped his right palm, and with an unshakable might he met the king's demon sword. Rumbling sounds shook the sky and earth. The two's moves collided, and a terrifying impact spread out rapidly. The void of the entire battlefield collapsed, turning into nothingness. This was a battle that shook the world. Every move of the two brought about endless destructive power. With them as the center, heaven and earth continued to collapse, and it quickly spread out in all directions. The battlefield between the two races became a forbidden area. The aftershocks shook, and soldiers of both races were constantly affected, and their bodies exploded. The peerless king's shocking sword didn't hold back even when facing the Stone Emperor. Every move of his shook the world. Extraordinary swordsman. After exchanging more than 10 moves, the Stone Emperor's expression became serious. He raised his hand to block the sword, and his right hand clenched into a fist, punching toward the former. The move was simple and direct. The power of the fist that could shatter stars was aimed at the king's chest. At this critical moment, the demon behind Mysterious Chi roared toward the sky and punched down to meet the emperor's fist. Boom! A shocking tremor sounded, and the 1,000-foot demon collapsed. Demonic chi scattered in all directions, forming a terrifying storm. Mysterious Chi groaned, and the corners of his mouth turned red. Under the emperor's might he was injured again. Sunset Heavenly Conquest. Exceeding his limit, Mysterious Chi used all his strength to raise his move. Overflowing demonic flames rose in all directions, and a sword illuminated the world alone. This was a move that had never appeared before, and its power was boundless. Wherever the sword light passed, all techniques withered. It was difficult to withstand this shocking destructive power. When the Stone Emperor saw this, his expression became serious. Strange light shone from his body, and the Emperor's Tao appeared, forming a protective barrier that blocked his surroundings. At this moment, the destructive sword light broke through the air and collided with the Emperor's Tao. Extreme Tao and Emperor's Tao collided. Rumbling sounds rang out, and the violent impact spread out rapidly. The battle became even more intense. A pool of blood splashed out, dyeing his clothes red. Mysterious Chi was forced back several steps, and he was heavily injured again. At the same time, the Emperor's Tao around the Stone Emperor collapsed, and the aftershocks attacked the Emperor. The Stone Emperor frowned and waved his right hand, dispersing the aftershocks. He looked at the heavenly demon fourth prince in front of him, his eyes full of killing intent. This person couldn't be left alive. Otherwise, he might become another Xianjuyo. Thinking of this, the Stone Emperor no longer hesitated. He shouted, and his terrifying Emperor's Tao rose rapidly. Stone blue light rose and filled the entire battlefield. The Emperor's Tao suppressed Mysterious Chi, and he felt his body sink. His true Chi was suppressed. "You're not bad, so I can't leave you alive." As he spoke, the Stone Emperor moved for the first time. He took a step forward and instantly arrived in front of the Sword Emperor. The sky-shattering fist was fatal, and its power was shocking and unparalleled. Mysterious Chi held his sword in front of him, but he felt a terrifying power, and was immediately sent flying. Boom, 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 boom. 10 miles, 100 miles, 200 miles, 300 miles. The king's body crashed into one small mountain after another, creating a huge wave of dust. Clang. 500 miles away, Mysterious Chi stopped his retreat. He stabbed the demon's sword into the ground and forcibly stabilized himself. Blood spurted out and dyed the ground red. Mysterious Chi staggered, and his eyes were filled with fatigue. The Emperor realm was really on a different level from the King realm. In the void, the Stone Emperor walked forward step by step. He seemed unhurried, but in just a breath he arrived in front of the King realm again. The Emperor's Tao rose again. It was dazzling. The Stone Emperor raised his hand and attacked. Bang! At this moment, an illusory figure walked out between the two. 7 divine suns circled around him, and his powerful Tao was no weaker than the Stone Emperor's. The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor appeared and blocked the Stone Emperor's attack. The clash of Emperor realms caused gods and ghosts to wail. Shockwaves spread out, and the surrounding hills were instantly flattened. Stone Emperor, how about we stop fighting? The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor looked at the Stone Emperor and asked calmly. The Stone Emperor's face fell. 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor, he had arrived so quickly. The battle has already been decided. There's no point in continuing. Why don't we stop fighting and reduce the casualties? The 7 Brilliance Demon Emperor said indifferently. The Stone Emperor looked at the fourth heavenly demon prince behind the seven brilliance demon emperor, and clenched his fists. It was a pity that he couldn't kill this person. Retreat. After a while, the Stone Emperor withdrew his thoughts and ordered. With this order, the battle stopped. The remaining Stone Emperor's army immediately retreated to the southeast. Seven brilliance demon emperor, today's matter won't end so easily. The Stone Emperor said coldly. He didn't say anything else. His body turned illusory and gradually faded away. Anytime, the seven brilliance demon emperor replied coldly. He turned around and walked to Xianqi's side. He helped him up and asked, "How are you?" "I'm fine." Xianqi wiped the blood off the corner of his mouth. His eyes flickered as he looked in the direction the Stone Emperor had left. Today's battle was very meaningful. He wouldn't be in such a sorry state the next time he faced an Emperor realm expert. "Fourth brother, what about your sword?" The seven brilliance demon emperor looked at the cracked sword in Xianqi's hand and asked with a frown. Xianqi shook his head gently and said, "It's fine. I can just go back and reforge it." The seven brilliance demon emperor nodded with a serious look in his eyes. Fortunately, the person guarding this area was the fourth heavenly demon prince. Otherwise, any expert below the Emperor realm wouldn't have been able to hold off the Stone Emperor for so long. Now that the battle had been decided, the Stone Emperor's army had suffered heavy losses. Of the 6 saints, 3 were dead and 1 was injured. They wouldn't be able to cause any more trouble. His heavenly demon clan had already established their dominance. Now it was time to see how the 13th brother was doing. In the northern part of the primeval demon domain, in the heavenly demon army's camp, Ning Chenjing was standing in front of his tent. At this moment, the demon emperor token at his waist shone brightly, and the emperor appeared. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.